Break ends in 5 seconds.
Can run the 40 faster than Tom Brady. He got a perfect score on the Wonderlic. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Wow, what a conflicting feeling yesterday, Perloff, when we got the news that O.J. Simpson had passed away. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Believe me, we've got lots of fun stuff for you today. EJ is king for a day. We've got silly things. We've got actual sports news with Kentucky making and zeroing in on a new head coach. We got Tom Brady sound. We got it all. But I think we have to start with O.J. Simpson because this news hit in a unique way because the O.J. Simpson story, and obviously he passed away yesterday. He was battling cancer. But the O.J. Simpson story means something different, I think, to every person in America because of the breadth and depth of the story. You know, I think the first thing and I go to is obviously he's a murderer. He was found liable for the murder of two people. He did end up going to jail and serving time for a different crime. He was a serial abuser. That's where I go to first. I realize, though, there is much more to the story when you're talking about OJ.
I mean, the first thing that jumps to my mind, and yes, all that is true, and it's not really mixed feelings in the sense that I have no sympathy for him or anything like that. It's the car chase, the white Bronco. I just remember watching the Knicks-Rockets game with my dad and that coming on the TV. And that's, for me, like, that's what it brings me back to because, you know, I'm going to do the old man thing. If you weren't there, it's kind of hard to understand the impact of it. It was one of those things that everybody watched, everyone talked about. It was sort of like, it felt like a cultural touchstone in the sense there was no internet there, but everybody could come together over this. And there really are, now that things seem spread out in pop culture, you know, everybody has their own thing. You can listen to your own music, you can watch your own shows. But back then, everybody was talking about OJ. It was the only thing that people were talking about, the trial. So it brings me back to like a different time. Where everybody was kind of focused on the same thing. And just as a huge 90s basketball fan, just to have that going on at a time, like I was into that Knicks Rocket series. It was a huge deal to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. For me, that's the one day that stands out.
Well, yeah, because you and I don't have JFK's assassination, you know, like it was the first thing to me was the Bronco chase, but more the verdict of the trial was the first where were you moment that I'll remember so clearly and where I was and vivid memories of everything. And that was the first one I had. And obviously then, you know, I think 9/11 becomes the second one for all of us. But for
did you have a different
one? The Challenger?
The Challenger.
Yeah. I was
oh my gosh. When too young. That's what we're talking about. Was that 85? The same year as the Bears Super Bowl.
85.
It was right around the Bears Super Bowl and then the OJ verdict.
Yeah.
9/11, the few others, but wow, that's a great analogy because that's the impact.
It is, and the part of like the story and what like OJ's story was, and of course we're talking about OJ Simpson who passed away. It's like everything. It's a sports, you know, it's somebody who grew up in poverty. It's also someone who pulled themselves out of it through sports. It's somebody who became a sports icon, who became almost a deity, who had the charisma and passion to then go on to a post-playing career where he's in movies and he's a pitchman and he's reached those heights. And then it's a story about, obviously, you know, domestic abuse. It's about murder. It's about this trial. It's about race, definitely about race. It's about media. It's about fame. It's about everything. There's not one part of our society that's not touched by the OJ story. And so I found myself going back to, you know, you look at it for a different lens in every part of your life.
Sure.
To me, the sports is like zero, you know, and I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, and I always thought it was so odd that they always kept his name up in the Ring of Honor. To go to Bills Stadium.
Wait, is it there right now?
Yeah. And to go there and to see O.J. Simpson. I mean, the last time I was there, it was there. I haven't been in a while, but to see it there was always so like, how could you keep it up? Like, this is how much we love sports. This is how much we are so at times blinded by our love of these athletes is you're keeping his name up in the Ring of Honor after the fall from grace that he had was always wild to me. But to me, the sports part of it really isn't a part. And I can appreciate athletes who I never saw compete, like Muhammad Ali and others. I understand. But to me, OJ's sports career just doesn't even, it's not even a factor. And maybe that's just because of how old I am and the other facts of his life.
Well, I think his bust is still there in Canton as well.
Definitely.
Because they don't take anyone down in the Hall of Fame. You know, I remember I actually was a huge OJ fan because I loved, for some reason, our networks always showed NFL films. And there's no better NFL film than O.J. Simpson because this was an era in the 80s when running backs were the stars.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody cared about quarterbacks.
No.
It was running backs. And O.J. had this thing where he could jump cut, and it was beautiful. I mean, he was an incredible athlete to watch. If you ever see the USC footage too, and then he was in this movie that I love that you love too, Naked Gun.
Like Nordberg.
He had almost 100 approval rating. There was something incredibly non-controversial about him. And that's another thing. And I'm not the first person to point that out. It was one of the first times where you realize, oh, famous people are not who we think they are. That's a huge impact too. Now we're automatically cynical. We see a famous person and we know there's a difference between what they're like in front of the camera and behind the camera. But OJ had close to 100% approval rating. And that's what makes it even more sort of alarming how it all happened. And I admit, I wanted him to be innocent when this trial was going on. I was like, oh gosh, I hope he didn't do this.
Right.
But then it became, then I was on the team that like, oh, he clearly did this. You have to find him guilty. And I think that's how history ultimately has judged him. I think over the years, the people who are defending him have sort of quieted down. And now I think most people agree that he did it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the civil trial for sure, when he's like found liable for it, even though he wasn't found guilty. And I think people were obviously talking about O.J. Simpson, who passed away. He was battling cancer. But I think the other part is the trial became so much more than just did O.J. Simpson kill these two people in Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. It became so much more than that. And a lot of times that's what famous people, famous athletes, whatever, they become kind of symbols. We don't really know these people. So we put we assign symbols to them. And O.J., that trial became a symbol, I think, for a lot of other things, which was race relations in Los Angeles and fame and wealth and all of the things. And it just became so much more than the actual, like, did he do it? There was so much put on that case. Did he do it was also a big part of it. And then I think it was distasteful after, where he gets found innocent or not guilty, but then they go to the civil trial. But OJ then walked around after that as if the whole world felt the same way as that jury. He walked around playing golf. I'm going to find the real killers. And he's out on the golf course. And it always seemed like a disconnect. Like, how can you just feel like you're going to walk back into society and people aren't going to still have feelings about it up until after he gets out of prison for, the theft case, like involving his Heisman Trophy in Las Vegas. And EJ, we were talking about this, like he's back on Twitter. Like, hey,
hello, Twitter world.
Yeah, hello, Twitter world. Hey, it's OJ here, like giving you some thoughts on the Jags-Titans game this weekend. And it always felt like even he didn't understand. Well, he was a pariah for most people.
I thought one of the crazy parts, too, was he wrote a book saying, if I did it. Because he needed cash so bad that he almost admitted it in a book.
Yep.
So there was
the sellout aspect.
There was an awareness.
Commercialization of it that was gross.
I think there was a little bit of awareness that he knew he did. I think the way he acted is consistent with somebody who committed murder. But there's obviously, what do you call it, disassociative property? Like he was able to separate what happened. The thing about the trial, too, is like Johnny Cochran and if it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
The glove, yeah.
The actual details and the cop who was a dirty cop, it was incredible. Like
Mark
you couldn't.
Furman was the
Kato
racist
Kalin
guy,
sitting out there, and they went to order hamburgers. I remember there's no trial that I've followed like this. I mean, I know they're big trials, but there were so many little things. And you brought in Gil Garcetti, the DA at the time, then became a huge celebrity. Marsha Clark. Like, can you imagine a trial right now where everybody becomes a celebrity? Marsha Clark was featured in every 6 o'clock. Some show would come on Entertainment Tonight. They'd be talking about Marsha Clark and her haircut for 10 minutes.
How about the Kardashians? I mean, we don't.
Well, as a result of this, yeah.
We don't get introduced to that family. I mean, again, there's so much on this. And I think we're curious about what part of the OJ story do you find yourself going back to now that he has passed away?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it perfectly. Everybody has a certain part of this that they glom onto first. I have not heard anybody with any sympathetic comments about it. I think that's appropriate. There's no reason. I like what you said. Like for you, there's no sports. I actually do remember the sports a little bit, but I mean, the guy rushed for 2,000 yards in 14 games, which is funny because now they have 16 games and they can barely get to 2,000 yards. And he was in Buffalo, but it's all part of the story. It's the rise and the fall because he was so high that honestly, I think a lot of people are like, OJ couldn't have done this.
Yes.
Just because he was a great athlete. And that is the insanity. Person. It's the insanity of how we worship athletes and worship celebrities is that we think they can't do it. Turns out he did.
855-212-4227. Again, what part of OJ's story do you find yourself going back to? Because it hits everybody in a different way. Let's go to Chris, who's in Sacramento. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
We're good.
You know, I'm older than both of you. I'm 58. I was a product of the 70s. And I tell you, the 70s was a different, innocent, if you want to call it innocent time. O.J., besides being a great athlete, he was a movie star. He was in TV shows. He was a role model. You know, I mean, I remember we lived in the Bay Area. He spoke to us at our school. And, he pitched a try hard in school and, listen to your folks. And when you play sports, you give it your all. And, where I'm going with this is it was my childhood hero. You go to the Sears catalog, which you guys probably don't know much about, and pick out an O.J. Simpson jersey. And you're O.J. for a weekend, with your buddies. And, when your childhood hero turns out not to be a hero, your childhood it's like throwing a rock through a window. You lose your hero.
Yeah, Chris, you're so right. There's like and well said, it's like a fall from innocence for people like Chris who grew up in the Bay Area where OJ's from the Bay Area and idolized him, and then you get that, and it does feel like your whole childhood, if he was a childhood hero, it's almost like it's built on a lie. Yeah. Like it's fraudulent, and you did nothing. It was some other person who did it, but they kind of shatter what you thought.
Absolutely. Well said. I mean, you can't even imagine now an athlete that is that popular getting involved in something like this seems unthinkable. And it was unthinkable.
I know. I was thinking maybe like Strahan, you have to go to somebody who has crossed over into the public, and it would have to be someone of that even bigger. I mean, Michael Strahan is massive. But
he was a defensive player. OJ was different. He was the face of the NFL. Strahan, by nature, being a pass rusher, would never be the face of the NFL. The crossover aspect, a guy who's in movies.
Like The Rock or something. I mean, it would have to be, but The Rock didn't have the athletic career. Again, I don't know why we're trying to compare this. You get the point. He was the top of the mountain in terms of an athlete and then a post-playing career, and then you couldn't have a bigger fall from grace.
When he retired in the NFL, I would argue he was one of the top 5 most popular players in the history of the league. I mean, you're talking Jim Brown, O.J. Simpson, maybe Roger Staubach and Terry Brown. He was in that level. He might have been more popular than all of them because he had the commercial and he had the movies.
Yep.
It is. So there was a lot. I understand. That's really interesting that he meant something to somebody who grew up in the 70s way different, because I think young people really don't go past the murder, I would imagine.
Well, the other part too is the NFL really has, I said it's odd that he's still, I think, up in the Ring of Honor in Buffalo and his bust is still at the Hall of Fame in Canton, but the NFL has really scrubbed him from everything. He's not on clip shows. He's not on top 10 shows. The NFL and NFL media, we never talk about him as ourselves as media. It's just that you don't touch it.
I saw an NFL.com list of the greatest players ever, though, and he was 51. This was recently. And I was like, oh, my God, they put OJ on that list.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, I thought maybe just leave him off of it. Because you're right, you don't rank him like a normal player.
No. 855-212-4227. So get started with some thoughts about O.J. Simpson, and he passed away from cancer on April 10th. His family announced. All right, coming up, Kentucky men's basketball makes a decision on their head coach. We've got that and so much more today. It's Maggie and Perloff across the country. Stay with us.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Started the show talking about the impact of O.J. Simpson on society in the 90s. Incredible. It's hard to overstate how big a deal that was at the time and the legacy that it has. You give us a call, 855-212-4200. 4227 with when you think of O.J. Simpson, what's the thing you think of? Maggie and I come from different ages, different angles, but overall, I think we agree it's hard to overstate how big it was at the time, and really, like, it lasts. One of the reasons
the trial, you mean?
Yeah. No, just the entire rise and fall of O.J. Okay. Yeah, but the Made in America documentary that I think, did you reference that? Anyway, it was first. I think it's the first sports documentary ever to win the Oscar in the documentary category. Brought it all home, and it's amazing. You could have had a documentary on O.J. before the murders. It was an incredible ride. You know, his life was incredible even before that. And then afterwards, even his life after the murders was so surreal.
Yeah.
There were so many weird things going on.
Like the Miami years.
Yes.
It was, again.
The videos they were shooting of his wild lifestyle.
Yeah.
Again, we had a caller. The difference between what we saw of O.J. before 1994 and what we knew afterwards, you cannot state how different. You never would have been able to predict any of this. And I think we were much more naive about domestic abuse at the time.
Definitely.
I think now we're more aware of what the trends and the patterns are. And obviously the police should have seen that at the time. A lot of people failed Nicole Brown along the way to what happened.
Oh, definitely. And O.J. passed away from cancer 2 days ago. His family announced, so all these feelings are getting brought up. And, you know, the other part of it was O.J. was very friendly with the police. You know, that was always the story. He would have cops over to his house in Brentwood. They'd be playing tennis together. Like, he had this good relationship. Meanwhile, you know, they were getting calls that, you know, he was being abusive and, you know, she said he's going to kill me. I mean, it's all like the classic sort of pattern, unfortunately, this type of domestic abuse. And then, you know, like O.J. having that good relationship actually with the police, and then the police kind of being on trial also along with him. Like the police in LA were certainly, and LAPD were certainly on trial along with OJ because of, you know, cops who had been racist, because of cases that had been mishandled, and because, like, how many times had, you know, people of color been, you know, wrongly accused of things and convicted of things. And OJ became kind of a symbol of sort of rejecting all of that, even if he was guilty.
You know, one of the other things, too, about we knew, and at the time, I think we all kind of dived into the details. The incredible thing is how it all happened, too. The kids were upstairs asleep, and they had this little area where it all happened, and he had to kill 2 people with a knife.
Yep.
And that was started. Like, you could envision this happening. And then he had to wake up, he had to go home, and then he had to get ready for this trip to Chicago. It's been reenacted, and there was a fictional movie that went along with it. I remember David Schwimmer played Robert Kardashian. Yeah. It was actually pretty good. And the movie, like, he had to go home, clean up. He had this cut on his hand, get on an airplane. And it's amazing. So not only did we know what happened to the murder, we know what OJ did as a cover-up. I don't think we ever found the knife. There's rumors that Robert Kardashian had it. And, you know, it's like the JFK murder in that you could really dive in and get into the details of this. And I think people did that in probably an unhealthy way back in 1994.
Oh, it was an obsession. Absolute obsession. And it was also kind of being beamed into our living rooms in real time because of the creation of Court TV, which became like this big thing. And you said it was like a reality show. It was. People were riveted by it. We didn't have we did have other distractions. People have their life, but not like today where you have a million things coming at you in your phone and you can decide what you want to watch. I mean, this was unavoidable.
Yeah, 150 million people watched the verdict, so that's way more than any Super Bowl. I saw a stat, 95 million people watched the Bronco chase. 95 million.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it. You remember it. You remember where you were with the verdict? I remember being in school. 855-212-4CBS, and people are cheering. Shane is in Louisville. Hey, Shane, how are you?
Let's say, guys, I was just telling your producer that I had a story. He was actually, OJ was here for the Derby. I can't remember which one. And he's famous restaurant, steak restaurant here in Louisville. They have one in Cincinnati. It's called Jeff Ruby's. They actually asked him to leave.
Really?
Yep.
They asked him to leave.
All over
and this was right after the acquittal or years and years after?
You know, Maggie, I can't remember exactly what year. It wasn't too long afterwards. But, yeah, they asked him to leave, and, you know, it hit the internet. It was all over the place. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, they would not serve him.
Interesting.
So,
Shane, thank you for the memory. I think he encountered a lot of that where he went.
Oh, yeah.
I think people said it to his face. I mean, you talk about now in today's social media, and we call them keyboard warriors and people who will sit behind a keyboard and tell you, oh, you suck and I hate you. But people were saying it to OJ's face, calling him a murderer. I mean, I imagine that had to have followed him even late into his 60s and 70s.
Oh, absolutely. And then also, too, he actually went to jail for something completely different.
Yeah.
I do think there were people who looked past the murder and hung out with him. I saw it in the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
He sort of had his fans because we learned that he was a big socialite in L.A. He was part of a scene that I don't think I understood any of that until I saw like who he was hobnobbing with and what life was like in Brentwood. Seemed like it was way different than I would have expected.
It's funny. I watched that exact episode last night of the O.J. Made in America doc that you were talking about that won the Oscar. And he said afterwards, of people who were, finding him on the golf course and yelling murderer and things like that at him. He goes, listen, I've been in Brentwood longer than most of these people. You're the ones who are squatting. This is my home. No one's going to make me feel uncomfortable in my house, in my home. And yeah, it was interesting. Chris is in Oakland. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
Hello. How are you, sir?
Oh, okay. Hey, yeah. I had a friend that was with the news service down in Los Angeles, and they had spoke to Nicole, while she was alive, and hey, you owe some money to the drug dealers. And because the rumor, it was a grapevine all over. A lot of people, still know that. Not only Nicole, but Faye Resnick also was supposed to be doing cocaine.
Yeah.
Okay. So the story is that she owed, it was a large amount, like over $100,000. And she said, I'm not worried. OJ will pay the bill. And so if you follow the trial, I followed the trial. So he's paying the child support. But there was another fee, another thing he was paying also like a volunteer. He cut that out. He stopped. Johnny Cochran pointed that out, so he stopped. But Johnny Cochran also pointed out early on at the very beginning of the trial, he said that one of his witnesses was going to be Miss Hurstrom, and Miss Hurstrom lived across the street from O.J. Simpson, and she saw 4 men go into O.J.'s yard that night, and Johnny Cochran pointed that out. And so,
well, yeah, Chris, and I think it's Johnny Cochran's job as the defense attorney, and Johnny Cochran has passed away. But it's his job to create the doubt, right? Say
that again.
It was his job as a criminal defense attorney to create doubt about who could have done what. It wasn't about doubt.
It wasn't about doubt because when it came time for Mrs. Hurstrom to testify, she had been arrested. She was arrested on a hotel charge. That's a civil trial. You don't go to jail on a civil trial. They arrested. So, bang, that's the end of Ms. Hurstrom's zero. She couldn't testify.
Interesting.
So,
Chris, I don't know that particular detail of it. I'm not saying, it's right or wrong. Thank you for the phone call. But there's been 100 conspiracy theories that have come out of this also. Some of the more famous ones where it wasn't OJ, it was OJ's family member,
or that they were together at the time.
Were together at the time. I mean, and that is again, that's the job of the criminal defense attorney, is to create doubt. Was the person there? Was it them? And the glove and putting that on and him not being able to fit was ultimately, I think, one of the big turning points in the trial.
You could do how many movies are within this story? Just a legal story, because Johnny Cochran was brilliant. F. Lee Bailey, who's probably the most famous trial attorney in the history of the country, was. Or one of them. I mean, his top 5
later in his life.
Also, you should see his history, the stuff that he did. Both of them were part of this legal dream team. So, and
Robert Shapiro.
Yeah, and then going against government employees, it was almost unfair.
Yeah, there were 9 lawyers on OJ's legal team, right? Carl Douglas was another famous one.
Yeah, and Johnny Cochran, who I just looked up, died in 2006. An incredible, impactful life. Becomes a bit of a punchline. I know there's a South Park episode about him and stuff. But he was no joke, and he had a history of representing. Before he came into the O.J. case, I remember this part of the movie very well. He came into the O.J. case, and people saw Johnny Cochran's on this, and it just changed everything. Like, oh, okay, maybe O.J. has a chance now. So that's another thing. The legal aspect of this trace, Judge Ito, there's a movie in that. There's got to be 10 movies in this whole terrible story.
Yeah, 855-212-4227. Andrew Bogusch is here with some headlines. There has to be other things going on today. We know that.
Good morning, everybody. You guys will do more on this later in the show, but Kentucky almost has a new men's basketball coach finally. It's not Scott Drew or Dan Hurley, or Nate Oates, or Billy Donovan, or either Pitino.
Or Zach Gelb.
It's Mark Pope, the former Kentucky
Did they fly
player.
him down there?
Well, we'll see. Former Kentucky player, current BYU head coach. Pope and the Wildcats are reportedly finalizing a 5-year agreement. Pope was on Kentucky's 96 national title team. His Cougars have danced twice in the last 5 seasons. But he didn't go to Temple like Zach Gelb, so I'm not sure exactly why Kentucky is hiring him for this job.
I mean, Kentucky has an opening. The first place they look is Utah for the coach. They want BYU. This is such a lame landing spot here. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I like it. The guy went there and won a title there.
We were talking about John Calipari left, and we're talking about names like Jay Wright and Danny Hurley and then Mark Pope is who shows up. You don't think this is a bit disappointing for Kentucky fans? This doesn't say something about the state of the program?
I think Rick Pitino would have been way more disappointing. It's like, wow, you
not
guys
as a
are
content.
really grasping at straws here. You're really trying to relive some crazy glory days. Now, at least you got someone who played on the team, who has a familiarity. The former players are going to be all behind it. This makes a lot of sense. And
You're
he's a
telling
good
me
coach.
if you're a Wildcat fan, you wouldn't rather have Rick Pitino back than Mark Pope?
No, because it's only going to be T-minus how many days until the next scandal with Pitino.
It's the NIL era. There's no more scandals.
He'll find one.
Oh, come on. This is definitely, there's no sizzle to Mark Pope. He's a BYU coach. By definition, there's no sizzle.
Well, BYU coach aside, I think what the lack of sizzle for me is that you'd have to think that Mark Pope's going to be like a good soldier here, right? Like he's not going to come in and be pissed and make backhanded compliments and stuff like that. You know, Calipari kept saying there wasn't NIL. They need to make more money. He's ruffling feathers. He's poking and prodding. You'd think Pope is going to be a little less
of an agitator?
of a rabble rouser.
Or a rabble rouser.
Than Calipari was.
What choice do you think he was, if you had to guess?
Well, they certainly talked to Scott Drew. I mean, they flew Scott Drew there. So we know that. The other guys all said no before anything public like that happened, but there's no way they didn't consider Billy Donovan at least as well.
I
Nate
think
Oates.
it's more about timing, though, than it was about these guys outright rejecting the job. Like, you know, you guys, we've talked about it. Would you have left the NBA for this job? Probably not. Billy Donovan can be mediocre in a great city like Chicago, and it seems like he's got a job there for as long as he wants. You know, for Jay Wright, I don't think any job's pulling Jay Wright out. I don't think the Knicks job's pulling Jay Wright out or the 76ers. So why would Kentucky? It's just, I think the timing, Scott Drew, I don't know why he wouldn't take the job. I guess he really likes Baylor.
But do you think
God
they
told him to stay?
But they would have taken.
Said.
We all agree they would have taken Jay Wright over Mark Pope.
So I mean, they would have taken Jay Wright, but I think Jay Wright, Dan Hurley, like those are non-starters. Like I don't think that was ever really a thing.
Yeah,
I think
it's like getting Santa Claus. Like it's just not a possibility.
Right.
Okay, so you guys think Mark Pope was the second choice? It was they had a list and it was Scott Drew, no, then Mark Pope.
I would say at best he's the third. I do think that somebody talked about Nate Oates. I can't imagine that they did not actually check in on Nate Oates.
He got in front of that pretty quickly, though. Nate Oates did.
Yeah, but
he came out immediately. And said
but I think that's because he knew people were
But
asking
Danny
about
Hurley has come out 3 times and said no. You don't think anyone called his agent?
No, I don't think Dan Hurley would have ever considered leaving UConn. I think Nate Oates considered leaving Alabama for Kentucky.
But my point is, I bet you they at least made some sort of back end inquiry.
Yeah. So again, so he's third or fourth Pope. If we're going to count Hurley,
I would say 6 or 7.
It's not great.
But anyway,
maybe
not
the
great.
boring choice is the right choice.
Could be.
It could be, absolutely.
Could be.
And also the way they play is not going to be boring. The way BYU plays is really fun. It's a lot of threes and it's a lot of really fast-paced offense, and that stuff is cool. But he might be just the safer option. Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, we're talking 3 seed for the next 8. I don't see Mark Pope winning a title in Kentucky. If John Calipari can't do it, why would I think Mark Pope could?
Because he's a better in-game coach. And that's been the problem in the tournament, is that the in-game adjustments and the lack of strategy in games has been costing them not the talent.
Do you think anyone in the SEC right now is scared of the Mark Pope-led Kentucky Wildcats?
It doesn't matter if they're not scared. If they were scared of Cal, they had no reason to. Because at the end of the day, when it came to coaching X's and O's for big games, Cal came up short every time.
Yeah, EJ's right about that. Pope's a big name in nerdy coaching circles, so that's going to worry other nerdy coaches.
Right.
If they thought they had an advantage, and they wouldn't say it out loud, but they knew they could out-coach Cal in a game, and now they can't, that'll spook them a little bit.
Did lose to Duquesne in the first round, though. Just want to point out.
Yeah, does Kentucky make the
6 seed did get upset by an 11 seed this year, but I'm still cool on the Mark Pope hire.
Does Kentucky make the tournament this year? That's what I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
Who's on the roster? Did they lose? I mean, they're clearly assuming Reed Shepherd goes pro or leaves. I saw a bunch of guys like he's not going to have much of a team. Neither is Calipari for that matter.
No, but there's always players to be had. And
the portal, baby.
Yeah, and they're still gonna make the tournament. Yes, they will make the tournament. They might not be your pick to win a round or whatever, but they will make the tournament.
And I think if you're optimistic for a Kentucky fan making the tournament, we watched BYU go from the West Coast Conference to the Big 12, which is probably the best conference in college basketball, maybe even better than the SEC. And people thought it would be scary hours for BYU, and they went in there, made the tournament. They beat Kansas. They had some really good wins this season, so. That's got to be positive. The only negative, well, not the only. The big negative, though, is Mark Pope has not performed well in the tournament either. Yeah. As you mentioned, lost to Duquesne last year. In 2021, they were one and done. So we haven't seen that translate to tournament wins, which would be a little concerning.
Well, also, the reality is Kentucky is in a way different spot. College basketball is so different now than 2015 when Calipari could get all the players, right? Because NIL's, I assume, spread out the talent, like football.
I mean, it's hard to say that because Duke's class this year, they have 2 of the top 4 guys. Last year, Kentucky had like 3 of the top 4. I mean, they still were getting the best guys. Again, the problem has been if you think that getting the best American high school recruits is going to win you anything, you are sadly mistaken. I think we talk about these guys getting older and basketball being old, and that's true. High school basketball is also way worse than it was when John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, those guys were coming up. Those guys were dogs, and you do not have those kind of guys coming up. The number 2, number 3 best player in high school basketball just isn't as good as they were 10 years ago.
We'll see about Cooper Flagg and also Ron Harper's other kid who's going to Rutgers, who I watched the McDonald's All-American game. In the chat, youtube.com/ CBS Sports Radio for now, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio, where Northwood sends Doc Rivers to Kentucky, which I know.
I called for Doc 2 weeks ago on the show.
It's especially cool to have the spin doctor down.
You only have to wait about 9 more days and he'll be free.
Also saying that I said that BYU makes a lot of threes. What basketball team doesn't hit a lot of threes these days?
Shockingly, UConn. That won the whole thing.
I know.
That's what I was going to say. Like the ones who just won back-to-back titles were loving twos. Anyway, back to you.
In the NBA, it is a cluster you-know-what at the bottom of the Western Conference playoff picture this morning.
To Chris Paul, back to the basket with Henderson on his hip. Off the step, catch and shoot, right wing, 3! Yes, sir! 90-86, he swishes it. And it's Stephen Curry coming to life in the fourth. He's got 22.
As heard on Warriors Radio, Curry finished with those 22 and a 192 win in Portland. His Dubs have now won 9 of 10. The Kings, meanwhile, took a 135-123 home loss from the Pelicans. So Sacramento, Golden State, and the Lakers all have the same record with 2 games left. They line up in that order from 8th through 10th in the West. Chiefs wideout Rashee Rice turned himself into Dallas PD yesterday on those charges connected to drag racing and causing a multi-car wreck 2 weekends ago. SMU wideout Teddy Knox allegedly driving the other car in this situation. There's also an arrest warrant out for him. He was not in custody as of last night. The school suspending Knox from the football team because of this. The Orioles and Red Sox were 3-3 through 9 at Fenway last night. Baltimore's Gunnar Henderson broke that tie with a 2-run shot, and then Colton Cowser kept swinging.
3-0 to Cowser. I say let him swing away. And he crushes this to deep right field. It is way out. Oh, he swung away. An Earl Weaver special and an exclamation point in the 10th.
They know what they're doing on O's Radio. Cowser hit the first of 2 homers, his first 2 homers of his career, I should say, in this one. A 9-4 win, a 3-game sweep for the O's.
I was like, do I have to know who Colton Cowser is? That was his first. Okay.
He's new, but that's another Oriole rookie that's good.
Yeah, Jackson Holiday was hitting was doing well in his debut the other day. Now this guy, oh boy.
The Phillies started a 4-game visit from the Pirates with a 5-1 win last night. Bryson DeChambeau,
The scientist.
that's Ann Ligori live from the Masters. DeChambeau slept on the lead at Augusta after a 7-under 65, one shot better than Scotty Scheffler. Some golfers did not finish their first round because of darkness since the day began 2.5 hours late thanks to storms. Tiger Woods on that list. He's 1 under through 13. The round resumes at 7:45 Eastern. Austin Matthews scored goals 67 and 68, but his Maple Leafs lost to the Devils 6-5. It's been 31 years since the Angels had a 70-goal score, and Matthews is now 2 away from that. And finally, some real wrestling. 2-time world champ and Olympic bronze medalist Frank Chamizo says he turned down a $300,000 bribe to lose a match last week at the European Olympic qualifiers in Azerbaijan. He says the offer was made the morning of the weigh-in for his semifinal bout. Now, he then lost, so he says he lost straight up, but there was also a controversial call at the end of this. I don't know enough about wrestling. I don't know if he's suggesting that because he didn't take the money, then the judges screwed him out of an Olympic spot. Yeah. But this guy openly saying, you can't break my integrity, offered me $300K in apparently shady Baku, Azerbaijan to lose a wrestling match.
Wow, that's a movie. Wait, what do you think happened? I'm curious about the details. Like, who approached him? How do they do this?
Ippei.
I imagine a guy.
Is there?
Imagine a guy
Can I
with
have
fedora,
your bank account numbers?
Fedora, trench coat.
Yeah, right.
Someone that says judge on the shirt.
Yeah, right.
That'll teach the Europeans to fix anything other than tennis. I mean, everyone knows if you're going to fix something, just go straight to tennis. Why are you wasting with amateur wrestling?
Is there a chance that this guy thought it was like WWE wrestling? And when it showed up to him, it was like, hey, like, you know, I want to see this guy go over. So here's $300,000.
Vince McMahon in a mustache.
Yeah. Well, the controversial call is the guy brought in a chair in an amateur wrestling match. You're really not supposed to do that.
Honestly, when the ladder came out, we should have noticed something weird happening.
Slow count by the ref always gets him.
Foreign substance.
This was smart actually for him to come out and say, I got offered this bribe and I didn't take it.
Why?
Because he lost and it was a controversy. So clearly somebody, or not clearly, this looks like somebody along the way took the bribe. Potentially, if I'm reading you correctly.
Got it. So he's
Bogusch.
getting out in front of us.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, he's making himself.
Press conference.
Yeah, he's like making himself a victim now. Like, forget that I lost.
Right.
Feel bad for me or feel good for me. Be proud of me that I have apparently a spine and I don't take money.
Bet that much on amateur wrestling over there? That's amazing.
See, this is the stuff that's got to get flagged immediately. Well, if you're not using a sports book, I don't know why you do that. But yeah, with some of these like bookies.
Well, I don't think Azerbaijan has DraftKings. I assume this is off official book.
Well, first of all, this is a bribe. It's not
a bet.
I'm sure there might have been attached gambling to it, but $300K was just for him to take to lose.
If you're bribe apps,
if you're paying $300K to the wrestler, that means there was probably $300 million or something bet on that. Like they would obviously the bet would look a little funny.
Or because he didn't take it, then they didn't bet on it because they couldn't control the outcome.
But maybe they had the referee.
Right.
Oh man, is anything real? 855.
Wrestling's not.
Wrestling is.
Well, this should be.
This is not real, but other wrestling is.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, what?
I think you got that backwards.
I like other wrestling. Amateur wrestling. Is that what you mean by other wrestling?
I mean, WWE wrestling is real.
Oh gosh.
Because it happens with real people. How do you mean it's real?
Because they have real people who.
There's real writers.
Yeah, storylines.
Really thinking about this.
Yeah.
Right. Can you bet? EJ told me that betting is coming on professional wrestling.
You can bet a little bit.
You can. You can. I've never done it.
You should go right to jail.
You can't make any money off of it.
No.
Yeah, strict limits, right?
The odds are so, like, you bet the $1, you're getting maybe a penny back.
Yeah.
I knew Cody was going to win. I told EJ like 3 times. I would have bet that so much.
You want to know who else knew Cody was going to win? Like a 20
Cody?
people. Like Cody. I call it like 20 people in a room writing the storyline starting 6 months ago. Actually, I had a friend who worked for WWE. He said there were places you could bet, but like they had a lot of protections in. And it wasn't worth it.
It's making me angry that that's a thing.
Do you guys ever see?
If you're angry now, wait till your updates later in the day because it's an important thing about today we haven't gotten to.
Speaking of angry, just a quick aside, there's no mention of the Islanders score yesterday, too. That's another thing that makes me angry.
Get out of here. Like the busiest day in sports history.
You know what? I don't tell you how to push buttons back there.
I'm just saying.
Do I?
It's very important. They're part of the playoff picture.
Yeah, I know. We're going to get there.
Right, and the Rangers
can't do everything in every update.
Right, the Rangers keep free falling, so I just wanted to be
free falling to the literally top spot in the NHL.
Okay.
But keep grasping at straws.
Lost again, though.
I love it that Bogusch would somehow put away the Masters and Kentucky basketball and OJ on the back burner. I mean, I will get to that Islanders story.
How'd the Isles do?
Right.
Who cares?
I
played the Ann Ligori clip was for Pete, and he's still not happy.
I like Ann.
I like Ann, too.
Screw you.
Ann's the best.
Yeah. I want her book. She has a book out.
855-212-4227. Ann's got more interviews with famous people than, like, Costas. She's incredible.
So cool.
Okay, coming up, EJ is king for a day. And boy, is the wrath of EJ coming for all of us. He doles out his first punishment next. Don't move. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Sorry, I'm unfamiliar with this tune. And you guys rolled your eyes? What is this? Is this the Queen
like
of England?
Generic king walking down the aisle or queen walking down the aisle music. It's not a real song.
This is Jerry the King Lawler. This is his entrance music.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Jerry Lawler, like the 70s and 80s wrestler?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to know that? Like shorthand? That's
it's King music, obviously.
But that's like the shorthand, like the breaking glass of Stone Cold?
Yeah, for sure. You hear those, I don't know, trumpets or whatever instrument, the King's coming out.
We're about to do an update on Kate Middleton.
Jerry Lawler. You never saw Jerry Lawler, did you?
Jerry Lawler was the color commentator for Raw for like my formative years watching wrestling. Yeah, what do you mean?
Sorry, I'm a JR person.
Well, he was a play-by-play guy.
So EJ is king for a day, and now we're getting themes here, are starting to show themselves, reveal themselves. And why EJ, the executive producer of the show, is king for a day is because he ended up getting the most games right at the NCAA tournament, March Madness on the men's side. No, not our one-hit wonder bracket, which was a wild success. Congratulations again to Take On Me by AHA for winning that one. EJ got the most games correct, Perloff, of all 5 of us on the show, so he gets to be king for a day. And I'm being told the first punishment is being doled out right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. So we're going to Maggie here for the first punishment. And Maggie, actually, there's some good news for your punishment because it's not actually punishment you have to do today. It's nothing that's going to happen to you today at all on the show.
I don't have to eat a cricket or something?
No, okay. It's not that bad. But your weekend may be a little busy because for your punishment, you will have to watch in full a Marvel movie of my choosing.
Oh, no.
And then give us a movie report / book report on the movie on Monday.
EJ, I've never seen a Marvel.
Which is why this is awesome.
I have no clue. I don't know Marvel from DC, from my elbow, from my you-know-what. I'm going to be totally lost on this. And furthermore, I could care less about any of the movies. I have never thought these were interesting.
You should have thought about that before you started picking Houston to go to the Final Four, whatever you did in your bracket. So
North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina. Great pick there. So
Houston would have advanced if they stayed healthy. I just want to state at that point.
They did not. And then therefore now I am king of the day. So Maggie, you talked about not knowing anything about Marvel.
I know nothing.
Well, that's great because I'm going to be dropping you into one of the most confusing movies that's probably been put out by Marvel. If you've never watched a Marvel movie, you will be watching Captain America Civil War.
Okay.
Came out in about 2018, 2017.
Okay.
It is the third Captain America movie. So you're not getting an origin story.
Lucky
you're coming right in, not knowing anything. You're going to see a bunch of people you've never seen before that are going to be introduced with no context, and you're going to have to figure it out. There are plenty. It's a great cast. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, the late, great Chadwick Boseman. Plenty of great stuff. The town is awesome, but unfortunately, you won't know anything about the story, so good luck.
The other part, too, so this is my punishment. I got to watch this dumb Marvel movie that I'm going to know nothing about. This is going to waste, 3.5 hours, 4 hours of my night? It's great. Thank you, EJ. Wow, I didn't even know these punishments could carry into the weekend. Not like I have anything to do or anything.
It's a great movie. I think it's one of the top 5 Marvel movies ever. It's got you didn't even mention Vision. I can't wait to try and figure out what's going on there.
You'll see who Vision is. It's going to be fun. And look,
this is going to be great.
There will be some people who will say, how is this a punishment? You guys don't understand Maggie Gray. The moment Perloff or I, whether on there or in our production meetings, mention anything about, hey, did you see the last episode of, WandaVision or whatever? The face Maggie makes, the anger that comes out, the vein that are popping in her head. I know what this does to Maggie Gray, which is why, as King for a Day, I'm a little bit of a mad king in making her watch this movie and give a report on it. So you're welcome, America.
Again? Marvel, I got to write this down.
Captain America: Civil War.
It's only like the 4th highest grossing movie ever.
And she's never seen
What's it called?
Never even heard of it.
You've never heard of the Captain America movies?
I mean, I've heard of Captain America. I thought that was like T.J. Oshie or something.
By the way, might be the best cast of any movie of all time. Agreed. I'm not joking. There's so many stars. You're
How many
love
Oscars
it.
this one win? Yeah, exactly.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's the reigning Fortnite champion. She's a Call of Duty legend. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
More details coming out, an affidavit into Ippei Mizuhara, Perloff, Shohei Ohtani's translator, who bilked him out of, now we're hearing, $16 million. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So we get more details yesterday because Ippei is going to be arrested. This is the complaint filed on Thursday. These are the federal investigators who did all this forensic evidence on Ippei Mizuhara, his relationship with the bookmaker, and now all the trouble that Ippei is going to be in, anywhere from like 30 years in prison to millions of dollars in fines, obviously. And the IRS really lays out the case here of just how nefarious the translator was and how exactly he got into Shohei's bank accounts.
Before we dive into some of these details, which are all incredible.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Do you think that this is the beginning of closure of this story? Or are there still so many open threads that we're going to live with this story for a while?
Great question. I think that this did a lot to close threads because it answered questions for people like me who had been extremely skeptical about certain aspects of this. I was never someone who thought Shohei was the one placing the bets and that Ippei was fully taking the fall. I just found it really hard to believe that Shohei had no knowledge of this. So here's what we're talking about in terms of the frequency of Shohei Ohtani's translator and his betting history. This is somebody who, according to this affidavit and the IRS, placed 19,000 wagers between December 2021 and January 2024. That averages out to 25 bets a day. The bets range from anywhere between $10 and $160,000. So it's an average of $12,800 per bet. More numbers for you. During this time of late 2021 to January of 2024, Ippei Mizuhara lost a total of $182,935,206. Now, he won $142,556,769. It nets out to $40.6 million in losses. Just the numbers on this, though, Perloff, are so staggering. They are jaw-dropping.
They are, but part of me wonders if this world exists where people are dropping this kind of money. I feel like reading the transcript, that bookie was going to take as much action as this person could squeeze money.
Yep.
So I don't know much about gambling addiction, but it feels like you'll bet until the money's gone.
Well, of course. And I mean, and Ippei, because of his nefarious activities, which the IRS and a forensic investigator went through and really lays it out. By the way, this is really also a cautionary tale. I know addiction comes with a lot of different things, but if you steal from someone's bank account, they are going to find you. I mean, you will not get away with it. The level and detail that they went into to tie Ippei to everything and to absolve Shohei from everything is wild.
Oh, the access they had to all of this information is kind of Big Brother-ish. It's almost like they were there for the whole thing, which is amazing to me.
Yeah, you have to turn over your phone. And Shohei also turned over his phone.
Tom Brady destroyed. Yeah, I know. Shohei, to me, that's why I feel like Shohei's innocent, because they had so much access to his information and his phone. The fact that he turned over his phone, to me, says, oh, he really didn't do this. But couldn't those guys have destroyed their phones? I don't know. I feel like if I'm considering crime in the future, the one thing I don't want to do is let anyone have my phone.
Your phone, yeah. Well, I think Ippei is now trying to be as helpful as possible to avoid, 30 years in jail or something. So he's up against it. But
yeah, that's a good point.
So there's a lot of parts of this. Again, the just pure numbers of it, I thought were rather staggering. Basically, they're saying that he stole about $16 million from Shohei Ohtani, and this started around 2021. In 2018, when Mizuhara started translating for Ohtani, the two of them opened up a bank account for Shohei. And Mizuhara was translating for Shohei. That bank account was the one where all of his Los Angeles Angels checks would go. So those are not the endorsements. That's not the other stuff. This is purely the baseball salary would go into this account. And that's the one that Ippei had access to. And what Ippei would say to Shohei's agent and his financial advisor and all the people who are putting his tax returns together and all that would say, Shohei doesn't want you to have access to this account. And the tax guys are like, well, we have to know, did any interest accrue on it? Is he giving gifts that we need to know from this? He could get himself in tax trouble. And Ippei was lying to them and saying, Shohei does not want you to have access to this account. And these people said, okay. I guess they sort of trusted that they really weren't accruing any interest on this. I don't know how. But so that's how Ippei had this sort of unlimited fund, if you will. He was literally taking it from the paychecks that Shohei was getting from the Angels.
Right. And also he was calling the bank as Shohei, right?
So he called the bank. Yes, the $500,000 wire transfers. Again, we're talking about a new affidavit charging Ippei Mizuhara, Shohei Ohtani's agent, with fraud and theft. All of the details came out yesterday in a 37-page report that was put together by the IRS. So I had a big question about the $500,000 wire transfers. How could you not talk to Shohei when his name's on these wire transfers? They said that Ippei, on a phone that was, registered to Ippei, was calling the bank, pretending to be Shohei Ohtani. And obviously, there's a big distinction here. The person on the phone, because they have the phone records, spoke fluent English. And Shohei clearly does not speak fluent English. So not only was it coming from Ippei's phone, they have the not just the transcript. They have the actual phone call. When you call a bank, hey, you're on a recorded line. They literally kept that, and it's somebody who's speaking fluent English from Ippei's phone. Clearly, that's not Shohei.
Yeah. So they know it was him. I understand too. If you're a random employee at the bank, I guess you wouldn't know.
There were protections involved. So there's text messages between Ippei and the bookmaker, and a lot of them are kind of, you see like how degenerative of a gambling addict Ippei is through these texts, but also it shows how difficult it was to first set up the wire transfers. They kept getting canceled, they kept getting flagged, and they really had to be Ippei had to be pretty nefarious to get around it.
It's funny too. What comes out of this? Did MLB avoid a wild pitch here? Is this done? Is this the beginning of done? Obviously, the trial is going to keep on going and the investigation is going to keep on going. But I feel like, honestly, they should have put this out 3 weeks ago and everyone wouldn't have been doubting so much about Shohei. I feel like the way we began the segment, it's the beginning and the end of this story.
I think maybe for Shohei, that probably, if you believe this IRS forensic, examination of it does very much exonerate Shohei Ohtani. He is the victim in this, and I don't want to keep some conspiracy theory alive just because it might be interesting to me. I think that the guy really seemed like he was a victim of a massive fraud, and even though he's a rich and famous person, doesn't mean you can't feel sympathy for him that someone that close turned on him in such a crazy way.
Yeah, I don't feel sympathy for anyone who has $700 million coming their way. He's going to be more fined than all of us combined, and he's also the best baseball player in the world. The funny thing too, he didn't seem okay, this is Monday Morning Quarterback. He didn't seem so bothered through this whole thing. Like, I think he was acting like he was innocent, like he was a victim of fraud. It didn't strike me, and I know nothing, that he was somebody who was secretly doing all this and was going to go down himself. Because to maintain that level of cool, if he was actually guilty, would have been very difficult.
Well, people in the room said that Shohei was like visibly upset at the end of his press conference because of the betrayal. Like he got emotional about it and stuff like that. Listen, it would have been hard to hide because look, Ippei couldn't keep it up. You know, he eventually did get busted here. And
well, I mean, he got busted because they busted that
the bookie. Right.
And that bookie, I mean, I hate tax evaders because I pay so much of my salary to taxes.
Same.
I mean, this guy's got to go to jail for a long time.
Yeah.
And you see the bookie feels like a drug dealer. Yes. I think a lot of us think of bookies as innocent in a way because, I don't know, I had a bookie at certain points in my life, and he didn't strike me as some nefarious underground figure. This guy clearly is a criminal in with a capital C because he was threatening Ippei, and he obviously knew he had a guy who couldn't control his betting on the line. You know, to me, another one thing about this, it's an argument for legalized gambling because there's more control. Gambling is addictive, so that's an argument against legalized gambling, but having it be above board could help people as well. None of this would have happened if he was going through DraftKings.
Right, you can only bet what's in your bank account.
Yeah.
You can't go above your means on DraftKings like you could with a bookie they call them bumps. And they kept bumping Ippei, and he kept begging for them to bump up. Meanwhile, Ippei is also texting the bookmaker about how terrible of a bettor he is. He's like, I just discovered soccer. Oh, my gosh. And now I just lost another $250,000 on a match. So you mentioned about the guy threatening Ippei. Again, we're talking about Ippei Mizuhara, Shohei Ohtani's interpreter. He's pleading guilty to fraud and to theft. It looks like it's about $16 million that he stole from Shohei Ohtani, and it lays out in a 37-page affidavit that became public yesterday. So one of the moments, something they write about in the affidavit, November 17, 2023, 2 p.m. on a Friday, the bookmaker goes to Newport Beach, California, where Shohei Ohtani lives. And Ippei apparently this is when the spiral's really starting and it's really out of control. And Ippei, like the walls are closing in a bit on Ippei, right? And he's way above his means and he's in the hole by millions and millions of dollars to the bookmaker. And all of a sudden he stops returning the bookmaker's phone calls. And the bookmaker goes to Newport Beach and texts him and says, I'm here. I'm watching your guy, Shohei, walk his dog. And I'm about to go up to him and tell him everything if you don't call me back immediately. Now, that's a threat. And I know this guy would be stupid to go up and like club Ohtani in the leg, Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding style. But think of the liability, the vulnerability that Ippei put Shohei in with this scheme. Someone could have hurt Shohei Ohtani by no fault of his own because Ippei got in so big. I mean, bookmakers, when you can't pay the bill, what do you think happens? They don't go to the cops. They find other ways to send a message, and he could have put Shohei, he already did. He put Shohei in this horrible position.
I mean, then play that out across America and forget
gosh.
Shohei. How many families are probably torn apart by the same dynamic? I mean, it could be, Shohei's going to be fine. That's a part. I have no sympathy for Shohei because he's going to be financially solvent his entire life.
Sure.
I mean, think of what could have happened.
Not if Ippei hadn't gotten caught. He might have drained the whole bank account.
I mean, there's so much money coming to this dude. But that's the other thing, too, is like, that's part of the reason they got away with all this because it was still only a fraction of Shohei's total value. I do believe that Shohei didn't notice it. I mean, I think a lot of current athletes don't track their finances, and that's how Ippei got away with all this.
Yep.
I mean, Shohei clearly didn't look at any paperwork.
So that was another part of it. You're saying, how could Shohei not understand his own finances? So they do lay that out as well, which is Shohei, first of all, Ippei had changed the email addresses and the phone number associated with the account of where his baseball checks were going. And so apparently Shohei was rather interested in his investments and where his stuff was going. He was just asking Ippei to translate with his financial people, give me a general sense of how my portfolio is doing. He wasn't asking about specific accounts. He was saying, give me an overall view. I mean, that you can kind of understand that, right? Give me an overall view of sort of how I'm doing here. And then Ippei was telling the financial people, Shohei doesn't want you to have access to this one bank account, and kept saying it over and over again. And these people questioned it, but ultimately didn't push back. And none of them spoke Japanese, and they never thought to get a different interpreter because everybody trusted Ippei.
Wild.
Pretty crazy stuff.
I have a question for you guys about this. Now that I agree with Perloff for sure that it seems like a bow is close to being wrapped up on Ohtani's implication in any way to this. But seeing Ippei move the way he's moved, and we know how the lengths that professional teams and franchises go to know about not just you as the athlete, but the people that are around you. And we're in draft season where every year we have this guy hanging around people we're not sure about or we're not
like
crazy
John
about.
Durant,
Do you feel like in any way the Angels or the Dodgers let Shohei down a little bit by not doing any kind of background check on Ippei? Because it feels like while he was clearly a world-class liar, just a little bit of work on him, I feel like you may have revealed some of these issues with him.
Yeah, apparently Ippei was terrible at this. I mean, first of all, he's a terrible sports bettor, but also he was into crypto. Like, he just made all the bad, risky bets that you could possibly make. This guy seemed to have made them.
I think that's a little money morning quarterback, what you're saying about the teams, because, if you guys have any addicts in your life, like, they are master manipulators, liars. Like, it looks, looking back on it, it's always like, how did we not see that coming? Because they are doing everything in their power to keep it going. So I don't think it's fair to say they should have caught him before.
I think that the Dodgers failed Shohei in when they get the notifications from the LA Times and ESPN, like, hey, this is going down, like there's something that implicates you, to then still keep relying on Ippei when Ippei was part of the story. You got to go right to Shohei at that point. So I thought they failed him there. Because the fact that Shohei did find out about this from a team meeting where Ippei is coming clean to everybody, and that's the first time they heard it, when the Dodgers and his agents had heard about this weeks before, that to me, you fail your client and you fail your player that way.
That doesn't feel true. He must have had some inkling before that meeting.
He says no.
Well, he makes him sound like a moron then.
And he says no, and if you're going to believe one thing in this report, you probably have to
he
believe
had
it all.
some knowledge something was going on. I think the depth of the knowledge. So that was
They're saying the first time that Shohei got wind of any of this was when Ippei addressed the Dodgers and the team in Seoul, South Korea, unburdening himself, saying that he had a gambling addiction.
It's funny. I read that story as like Shohei knew something was going on. Okay.
They say no. They say no. And then Ippei and Shohei talked it out in the hotel later, where he said, not only am I in with this gambling, this bookie, but also I've been stealing money from you. And that didn't happen until South Korea, which was like March 25th or whatever, March 20th. The other thing, too, remember David Sampson, the former president of the Marlins, came on with us, and he said in his entire however many years he was running the Marlins, the only person who joined the organization that he did not do a background check on was Ichiro's translator.
Wow.
He said there was like first of all, it's Ichiro's guy, and also there was like a cultural thing there where it's like, you're not going to question my guy. I guess that's what Sampson told us.
No, it's a great detail, because that's the only thing I hang up on, because we always talk about, obviously a lot darker, but Hernandez Hernandez or whatever, and we think about like any athlete when there's a major issue, especially with people around them, you say, well, somebody
knew about it, right?
We didn't do any research on this guy, and I think Perloff makes a great point about the levels that compulsive gamblers or any addict will go to shield, lies from people. But when I tell you these teams have personal or private investigators, I mean, they have the top of the top when it comes to being able to know background on their people. So that's the only thing I'm not held up on, but I just asked that question. Like, man, I wanted the Dodgers or the Angels feel like, man, we failed them a little bit. We didn't protect our own asset in a way.
Daly's in the chat. You can watch us on YouTube. He said, anyone know what bank this was? It's the Bank of Moronville. They just call it Bank A. They don't tell us what bank it is. I'm assuming it's one of the big ones.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I'm not doing $500,000 wire transfers or $500 wire transfers for that matter, but
he's not your local credit union. Let's just say that.
Doesn't matter if it's like, oh my gosh, that's my bank.
and trust me, I mean, we can get into whatever, but I'm sure that there's banking influences in even government that makes them not want to put out who the bank is too.
No, definitely not. Okay, we have sound for you from the agent. We'll get to that in just a little bit. 855-212-4CBS. As we are unpacking what happened with Shohei Ohtani's translator. Coming up, Tom Brady talking about his future and a possible return to football. What? Get to that next. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit as wesleyfinancialgroup.com. All right, Maggie, I was struck by a headline yesterday that a certain quarterback may want to return. Now, it made me immediately think of you because you have been adamant for years that Tom Brady was not going to retire. Then I feel like you gave up. You gave up.
And
now he's back.
I should have never given up. Oh,
he's back, but he's not really back.
Well,
he's not coming back.
Okay, you can decide for yourself.
Tell the story.
So Tom Brady on a podcast called Deep Cuts was asked if he would be opposed. See, the way the question is worded is kind of weird, but it was whether he would be opposed to joining a team that was a good team that had a good offense if an injury happened to a quarterback. But the way they asked the question is, would you make a call to a team? I'm not sure that's how this would work. I think a team would call him. But nonetheless, Tom Brady says he would not be opposed to a late season return.
One day there's a situation, right? Maybe it's the 49ers, maybe, heading to the playoffs. Offense is great.
Patriots,
somebody,
Raiders,
look,
could be, you never know.
God forbid somebody goes down. Would you pick up that phone?
I'm not opposed to it. If they would, I don't know if they're going to let me if I become an owner in an NFL team, but I don't know if, I don't know. I'm always going to be in good shape, always be able to throw the ball. So to come in for a little bit, like MJ coming back, I don't know if they let me, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
First of all, why are you bringing up the MJ coming back? I don't think he's talking about the second round with the Bulls there. I think he's talking about the Wizards, which MJ has gone out of his way to make sure that gets scrubbed from every history book of all time. You mentioned, notice it didn't get mentioned in The Last Dance. But Brady, what are you doing here? I thought that he was about to start this big broadcasting career. Now he's saying he might leave the Fox booth if the Patriots need him in week 15.
Well, yeah, nobody cares about it. I mean, first of all, he took that Fox job and didn't even go into the booth. So there's clearly not a number one priority to him. I think what happened here is you get on these podcasts and you start saying a lot of things. I don't think this is real. And maybe I'm being naive. I think he was just sort of talking and feeling good. There's no way. He's
wrong.
He's turning 40. Okay.
He's got the itch. He's got the itis.
How much can I bet that he is not back on a football field?
Well, the circumstances may not break his way. But he's clearly got the itis here. The I want to play again itis.
So he'll turn 47 in August. You're telling me he's going to come, unless he goes into a training camp, there's no way he's coming in the middle of the season because Tom Brady is as vain as any athlete there is. He's not going to want to go out there, learn an offense in week 14, and then get destroyed. What offense is he going to know? What does Tom Brady
have to learn? He's seen it all, done it all. He can walk onto the field. He just said, I keep myself in good shape.
Yeah.
I think he actually could do this. He could have a couple weeks. I mean, we saw Baker Mayfield basically learned the Rams playbook on a cross-country flight and was able to beat the Raiders.
Baker then went on 1-6.
Well, Brady's
but Baker
better.
ain't Tom Brady.
That's true.
Yeah, Baker's 20 years younger than Tom Brady.
How about this bet? If Tom Brady, because this is my takeaway from this yesterday, why he's trolling Greg Olsen, I don't understand. Let Greg Olsen shift to the B booth and stay there. But if Tom Brady comes back, leaves the Fox booth, will you drive to Greg Olsen's house and apologize to Greg Olsen for Tom Brady's behavior?
Where's Greg live?
That I couldn't tell you,
Probably
but you'll
Charlotte?
get there easily, I'm sure.
Could live in New Jersey. He's from New Jersey.
From.
That could be a short ride. He lives in Wayne Hills,
will you
Wayne
walk
Valley,
to Greg Olsen's house in New Jersey and apologize to him?
Yeah, out through the Lincoln Tunnel, through the Gumdrop Village.
George Washington Bridge.
Yeah.
So he lives in Charlotte, and that is on my way to
what
San
did you
Antonio.
Just Google?
Well, I knew he lived in Charlotte, actually, because I've heard.
123 Melody Lane.
Yeah.
1 Yemen Road in
Yeah.
Yemen.
He's I think he's a fixer in Charlotte, no?
Yeah.
A fixer?
Fixture.
I think he's a big community guy. So you come down.
You need anything in Charlotte, you just call Greg.
But then you're doing this because you don't want me to go through the Midwest. Because if I come down through Charlotte, Atlanta.
You can't go to Chicago.
I can't go to Chicago. You guys want me to do you want the straightest line so I go over the mountains, which is not going to work either.
Yeah, we want you in the Ozarks.
I just don't. I just think Tom Brady is talking here, and maybe I'm naive, but there's no way he's coming back mid-season. Mid-season, that's a terrible way to get back into the game. I know Baker Mayfield won one game, but he was active at the time. Tom Brady's been out of the game. This will be, what year is it now? It's the second year out of the game. It's not happening.
Yeah, but he said, I keep myself in good shape. By the way, something So we can talk about Brady. I think this is real. I think he's got the itch. Like, he's been out of the game for too long. Usually the itch comes around training camp, but I think he's got the itch. We also have to talk about what's going on with the hair. His hairline is proceeding. It's not receding like most men when they get older. It's actually growing forward, and he's getting more hair in the front.
Makes sense to me. He's Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that every athlete now? What is LeBron?
But LeBron gets clowned for this. I mean, we see like a clear line definition.
Yeah.
Also, LeBron's like 6'8", so not many people are taller than him. I know Brady's like 6'4", but something's going on with the hair where it's getting all curly now in the front.
It also bothered me that the No Bull logo was on the cape that he was wearing while he was getting his haircut.
So that's the thing that I think we're missing in this, is why I think Perloff is right. You guys got to understand, when the barber is asking you questions and you're in the chair and you've not gotten cut, you tell him whatever he wants to hear so that you get the best haircut.
Oh,
I think that there is a chance that Tom Brady, this guy, his barber is asking him, yo, man, you going to play? And I know I've been in that chair. Shout out to my barber, Rod. I'm telling Rod whatever he wants to hear.
Wait a minute, but you told Tom Brady said, actually, I've got the rest of my life. He thinks he'd get a worse haircut. There's no wrong answer here.
Oh yeah, what you tell your barber when you're talking to him, how you engage them, how you indulge them, is absolutely part of the experience of getting the haircut. You cannot no-sell your barber's conversation. You need to be engaged because they're doing you a service.
Okay, now that might be true.
You're paying them.
Yeah, and that
doesn't matter. It's like there are other people you pay, but you still show respect because you want them to do a good job.
But EJ, there were TV cameras around this.
Yeah, you're entertaining your barber.
But actually, I think EJ nailed it the other day. I see people sit with Shannon Sharp on this podcast. You got to up your game and say something. You can't just be like, I'm retired.
This is a double whammy.
You have to say something.
Have you ever heard of Vic Blends before?
Well,
Never
it's just
heard of this person.
I don't know. If you're Tom Brady, every podcast is someone way less famous than you. You got to amp it up when on a podcast. Right?
But
I mean, would you guys say something crazy?
Well,
I would.
But Brady has done nothing uncalculated in his life. He's on a podcast with video cameras. Again,
dude, he retired and unretired. What do you mean he's done nothing uncalculated? He literally retired and decided 4 weeks later that he's completely erratic.
And when he unretired, there was a movie filmed video of him walking on the beach telling us he was coming back. So he didn't accidentally let that slip yesterday. This is a cry for help.
No.
He's lonely.
You think he has
bored.
control of
his mouth? I do.
No,
yes.
He has no control over it. He can't get it. There's no calculating here at all. I think he's emotional, which is why he might return.
He didn't get jumped on the street by a TMZ camera. He's on a podcast he agreed to be on. His logo is on his chest while he's getting a haircut in front of a TV crew.
But you will admit,
and he goes, I'm going to play again.
He has not had straight logical thinking when it comes to retirement. You will agree to that.
You don't think all the questions here were like, not only were they probably pre-agreed on, but this is not live. They could have edited any of this stuff out. We know Tom is super calculating. But to EJ's point, can I tell a small personal story about this? Because I think it's weird that you would want to give your barber like the quote unquote right answer to get a better haircut. However, going back through the catalog of my life, I did do this one time. And the stakes were just a tiny bit higher. I was getting a medical procedure done. It was not life-threatening, nothing like that. And the nurses were kind of talking to me before to kind of loosen you up a little bit. So like, what do you do? Talk a little bit about your work. I said, I work at Sports Illustrated. I said, the doctor's a huge football fan. So he comes over and he goes, so who do you think's going to win the Ohio State-Michigan game this weekend? And I go, who do you think is going to win the Ohio State-Michigan game? He goes, I'm a huge Michigan fan. I was like, they've got a great shot.
Well, my dentist, shout out to my dentist, she has a Michigan hat on, like, when I get my operation, I get my dentist work done. Her hat, the Michigan hat is right there. So what's great is I work in sports, but like I knew immediately, Ohio State, Michigan, flag's been planted. I already know when I sit in this chair, especially with dental work.
Yeah, I know.
You think I'm gonna say something like, go Buckeyes in a dental chair?
That makes way more sense than your barber. That's his work out there. Why would he want to have you with a weird haircut? That's a bad calling card for him.
Because it's Tom Brady. Nobody's gonna he can go away for 3 weeks and nobody see his hair, or he can wear a hat and nobody's gonna be like, have you ever seen a bad lineup? Like barbers, if you tip them correctly, if you treat them correctly, they will give you a better haircut. That is factual. That's why Jalen Rose gives a $100 tip to his barber, so he got the freshest line in the game.
Do you guys do this? Bogusch?
Well, I mean,
Vladi, I'm sorry. You're exempt from this conversation. You're a hair loss
If you
survivor,
remember
as my
when you
friend
had
said.
hair, what'd you do?
When I had a teeth extraction, so shout out to my oral surgeon. He started talking about wrestling and started talking about Hulk Hogan against Paul Orndorff in the steel cage, and I started talking about it, started laughing, went under.
And now we're married.
And that was it. I don't know what I said. I might have given him my bank account, but that was it.
Okay, so Tom Brady, we'll see. I think he was calculated. Perloff says he's erratic. Bogusch, what else we got?
We've got round one of the Masters needs to finish this morning. 27 golfers back on the course in Augusta in roughly 10 minutes. That'll include Nikolai Højgaard, who is 5 under through 15 holes, 2 shots off the lead of Bryson DeChambeau.
I knew it was going to be a tough day today with the wind, so a lot of patience is required around this golf course, and making sure you're just stroking it on your line, putting it good, hitting good iron shots, and driving it well. I mean, in order to win major championships, you've got to, especially out here, you've got to do everything well.
A 7 under 65 for DeChambeau, a 66 for soon-to-be dead Scotty Scheffler. Tiger Woods among those 27. Needed to finish his round this morning. He's 1 under through 13 holes.
They should make it fun for the fans and start all the golfers at the same time.
Well, I mean, a shotgun start.
Yeah.
That's what that's called in the golf world.
That thing, yes.
Yeah, I
should.
I
Everyone
don't
tee
think
off the
so.
same time.
You know how cool that would be?
27 images. Yeah, it was like March Madness.
Oh, like a kickoff, like
Yeah.
right at that moment?
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I'm behind it.
Wait.
By the way, this couldn't be setting up worse for Tiger.
Yeah.
And I know we talked yesterday
Yeah.
about whether or not he should retire, and you and I disagree about that because he hasn't been able to finish a tournament since his car accident. So they couldn't finish the round yesterday. So now he's got to play 5 holes at 7 in 5 minutes. Basically, he's got to play 5 holes, and then he's got to play the other 18
right away.
I was listening to a report on ESPN where they're saying he gets so much work done on his body after and before each round, he's probably going to be on 3 hours sleep. So
Good thing he's only playing golf.
Right. Imagine if you put a windmill out
I
there.
mean, you watched him yesterday. Did he? He didn't even look like he was limping around. He looked like.
Yeah.
First of all, he's yoked. That's one thing that you can't miss. But
it's always good on day 1.
Yeah.
How do you respond on day 2?
First of all, the reason he taps out, if he's not going to win, he just taps out. He can walk a golf course for 4 days if he's in contention. We all know that.
He literally has said he can't. You're overruling
Thank you, Bogusch.
him. If he's 2 shots behind, the chances of him tapping out are what? What would you give it from 0 to 100? Because I give it minus 50.
But the point is, getting 2 shots back by Sunday is the hard part. The end, I get, that's an easy
push
quote
to
unquote
the end.
decision. It's
Right,
getting there.
He can walk the course if he thinks he's going to win. It's not worth the
But I
pain
think the
if he's
problem
out
though
of
is
it.
that he's in such bad pain that he's never going to be 2 shots back and have a decision to make about, wow, I'm in pain.
Right.
Can I power through? He's not.
really think
but at
you
time
guys
he's already
don't
plus
think
5 or missed a cut.
He's not going to play. I would strongly expect him to not play well in his second 9 holes today.
But okay, he's clearly good enough at golf to win another major if he could keep it physically together. He's not falling apart.
Well,
golf
right,
wise.
but I think that's not an easy thing to dismiss, the physical part of it. That's the defining characteristic of him right now. And I think you're too easily brushing it aside. He just will deal with the pain if he's playing well. He can't play well because he's not good enough physically.
Yep.
all it has to do is come together one time in the next 10 years. That's all we need.
So far this week, we've had Cam Newton hating Kirk Cousins, Raymond Felton hating on Rashad McCants for hating on Roy Williams, and now we have Jared Goff hating on Lions media.
They almost relish in negativity at times.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what gets clicks and that's what sells. But it's no longer what they need to live in.
Right.
Hey guys, we have a good team. We've had success. We can be happy about that. We can celebrate that and not have to write about how we're constantly the underdog. No, teams are going to be gunning them for us now. We won the division.
That's his complaint? Too many underdog stories?
Well, here's the thing, and I get why the athlete thinks this way, and I think it's probably healthy, but you have to have an understanding of the franchise history you are playing that comes with playing for a team.
Especially if you're a quarterback.
You don't have to acknowledge it all the time, or in the locker room, it can be different. Like, remember Bart Scott saying when he joined the Jets, it was not productive for him to think about LOL Jets and to think about how sorry the history was. You've got to create your own culture and do something new. So I get that with Goff. But you have to also be aware when you're speaking publicly of how much heartbreak, sadness, and how much crap the Detroit Lions fan base has been through, and they can't just automatically forget all of that bad stuff just because you made it to the NFC Championship game. And by the way, blew a 3-score lead when you could have been going to the Super Bowl.
It's funny, though. I feel like Jared Goff gets so much love in Detroit. Don't they? Jared Goff chants break out at all the other stadiums. Jared Goff. I've heard it.
Jared
It's
Goff.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, he gets so much support in this town. I was really surprised by this. I thought they loved those Lions. But I'm not there. So who would call negatively about this team right now?
I don't get it. I thought he was setting up for too many Dan Campbell conversations, whether he's too aggressive or like maybe people still wondering if Goff is good enough to like take them actually to the Super Bowl. There's too many underdog stories in Detroit. That's what's bothering him.
Well, this feels like number one pick syndrome a little bit. Like I was the number one pick, and people even like later in the clip says like this comes with a chip on my shoulder. I got doubted, and now I showed, hey, I'm a real number one pick guy. Like I have a certain pedigree. Like don't lump me in with those losers that have been losing for 50 years. I don't agree with him thinking that that's the issue with local media. But when I watched this, I felt like this is a guy who's the number one pick being like, why am I being associated with this loser franchise?
Well, also, this is clearly the low-hanging fruit, easiest thing. Blame the media for everything, for every possible thing that you find wrong or that agitates you. You can just blame the media.
Well, I think, too, he came from the L.A. Rams, and most L.A. residents didn't even know there was a pro football team in town. So it's a different experience for him there.
Yeah, people care.
The Warriors rallied for a 192 win in Portland last night. That gets them to 9th in the West. The Knicks rolled through Boston 118-109 to get within a game of the Bucks for the 2 seed. And we've all heard of throwing in the towel. Last night in Sacramento, a Kings fan might have thrown in the chicken wing.
Pelicans hold on, driving into Murray. Somebody's throwing something on the floor. 46 seconds to go, and a whistle blew. It's a chicken wing. Why would someone throw something that good out on the floor? It's crispy. It's warm.
Yes.
And I almost had to go out and I'm so hungry.
I hear your stomach over here growling.
What's that guy? I hope he eats it.
Kevin Harlan, Reggie Miller, TNT. Nobody ate the chicken wing off the court, thankfully. All of that happening in the final seconds of the Kings' 135-123 home loss to the Pelicans. Sacramento stays 8th in the West, while New Orleans takes a 1-game lead on the Suns for the 6th spot.
Gary Gerald definitely threw it.
Is that a what, protest?
Yes.
Because the team's been sliding?
That's right.
There's no one I want on a call like that more than Kevin Harlan.
100%.
He's the only one we can call in when weird things happen.
Does anyone here subscribe to a 5-second or 3-second rule with food on the ground?
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe not a basketball court.
Well, so that was the question I was going to have is basketball court, a little sweaty, a little gross.
It's a lot of...
Now, they do wipe it a lot. Anytime a guy falls, there's people wiping the floor down.
You think the guy should have picked it up and, like, you know how people will be on the Jumbotron, like, chugging a beer, like, in the stands and everyone roots him on? You think he should have picked it up and just put the wing in his mouth, like, argh?
That would have maybe got the Kings some spark because they were struggling last night. That would have been awesome.
Instead of light the beam, eat the wing.
Yeah, I think location depends upon location. If you're having a steak at a hair salon, you're not doing it. But if it's a nice...
What about the seasoning?
Well, that's true. If it's a dry rub, then you have problems.
How late do you go? Is it 5-second rule, 10-second rule? What's the
10 seconds? What kind of rebel are you?
5. That's it.
10 is pushing it.
You're asking for dysentery with 10.
10
like,
what
seconds.
About my own house?
Well, when did you forget it was there? 10 seconds is a long time.
I live with a very I live with a new eater. My kid's
Your
4.5.
husband?
Yeah, my husband. Still getting the hang of this thing.
For kids, it's like 40 seconds.
My kid will find something from like yesterday. I'm like, oh no, don't do that.
Big kids, how about having a dog?
Yeah.
They'll eat anything.
Little different calculus.
No 10-second rule there. 3-month rule.
I mean, they're licking their own butt. Like, this is just not the same situation. And other things that I thought might get us in trouble.
Where were we? Oh, Kentucky's reportedly close to bringing Mark Pope back to Lexington to replace John Calipari. Pope was a member of the Wildcats' 96 national team. a national title team. He has been BYU's head coach for the last 5 seasons, and the Orioles scored 6 in the 10th for a 9-4 win and a 3-game sweep at Fenway last night. Guys, back to you.
By the way, Tiger's on TV right now. He looks like he is about to die. Not just not get through the ground. He looks like he needs to go to the ER. I've never seen a more tired human being in my life.
I was
wrong.
Asleep and you're like,
wrong.
what's the matter? He's just walking the course. He's dusted right now.
Is there a short bet I could do on Tiger? He looked great yesterday. He was all smiles. I've never seen that. Is like he just studied for finals for 3 weeks.
He's been in the library all night. No, he's apparently they work on his body for like hours after. Then he has to wait. According to this ESPN article, he woke up at 3:00 this morning or thereabouts just to get ready to tee off now.
That sounds like Russell Wilson rehabbing his finger in the middle of the night, though. That sounds a little excessive.
That's a man that needs to have some time at Amen Corner. For sure.
I don't know. I just think Maggie should be queen for forever for having to deal with Perloff over all of these.
These golf takes have been around for.
Tiger's fine. You seem to see him one time. Oh, never mind. He's dead.
By the way,
looks a little tired.
Just check in beforehand.
Oh, like you in 2017, Andrew Bogusch and Maggie Gray, you were sitting there saying Tiger's going to win another tournament. Dude, the guy was -1 yesterday.
His left leg almost was amputated.
He's 6 off the lead.
Still has a shot.
It's one day. It's 4 days. It's a long way to Sunday.
You don't think that's incredible?
You just put him in his deathbed.
No, he
you
looks
saw
bad.
him for the first time in 30 seconds, and you're running away from him.
Short Tiger. Well, coming up. Yeah, sorry.
Things could have changed. I mean, something could have happened, like in the parking lot or something.
Nope. I mean, same Tiger.
He gets the Dunkin' Donuts delivery. Now he's ready to roll. Just like us. All right, well, coming up, EJ is king for a day. I've already gotten my punishment. Gotta watch a random Marvel movie this weekend.
Awesome.
I'm gonna have no idea what's going on. I hate those comic book movies. Up next, Perloff gets his punishment, and it's gonna happen right now in our studio. If you want to watch the show, come on in. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio for now. Twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio for now. And you can listen to us on all these incredible stations. Perloff gets a punishment next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Here we go. And I'm doing I'm doing Odyssey Sports Minute and Sports Minute.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Is this the kind of show that plays Taylor Swift back from break? You bet it is.
Not on my watch.
Okay, so
Actually,
EJ,
this happened.
EJ,
So-
well, definitely on your watch.
That was not a production meeting. That's actually, we're on air, aren't we?
We are. All right, welcome back. EJ is king for a day, and he's doling out punishments. Perloff is up next. Take it away, EJ.
All right, so Perloff yesterday or a couple of days ago was like, I'm not reading Jalen Brunson's MVP case. Well, good news, Perloff. You don't have to do that.
Phew.
But you will have to show some respect for the New York Knicks. And since you've been so mean with making me have to sing and always talking about how bad my singing is,
It's awful.
The turntables have turned. And now we're going to have you sing the New York Knicks theme song, Go New York, Go New York, Go.
But why are you making the audience suffer? They didn't lose the bet.
Oh, no, they're probably thrilled to talk about how the Knicks are one game away from the 2 seed and how well they're playing. Jalen Brunson, another masterclass last night. So let's get into the spirit, Perloff. Let's go.
Oh, this hurts, but go ahead.
We are the New York Knicks.
We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. Go New York, go New York, go.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Say go New York, go New York, go.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Get in there, Maggie. We're back on track. On the floor scoring more. It's 94, and the Knicks are hardcore. And I tell you like this, we ain't never looked sharper with Hubert, Bonner, Greg, and Harper. It's the Knicks, and we're back on pace. Everyone's gearing up for the championship race. And the fans are going crazy, and they're doing it for a reason. Because 94 is a Knickerbocker season.
Or 220-24.
First
3
two.
pointers, and we're running fast breaks. And if your defense makes a mistake, then bam, Ewing dunks in your face. This is a team you don't want to miss. We are New York. We are the New York Knicks. Go New York, go New York, go.
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 Go.
That's you.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Sit on your head is a swish. Threes by Starks and dunks by Smith. And no rebounds. If that's the case, we put Oakley and Mace in your face. We draw charges and we set picks. We're New York, and we are the New York Knicks. Say go New York, go New York, go.
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 Oh, throw in the towel. It's over. No boss. We can't do it.
Can't hear that song again.
No.
Amazing.
Everything is ruined.
Get used to hearing that song in the playoffs, by the way.
Not on this show.
For a round and a half.
Okay.
Wow.
If
Perloff.
no rebounds, if that's the case, Oakley and Mace are in your
We
face.
take charges, we set picks. We're the Knicks. Yay.
The Charles Smith reference. Like one they regret.
Who wrote the song? Someone sat at a Casio and said,
Casio.
so busted on your head is a Swiss, threes by Starks, and dunks by
Hey,
Smith.
put some respect on Jesse Itzler's name. He's the one who wrote this song and performed this song.
Dunks by
He should have been in the
Smith.
one-hit wonder bracket.
Is there something about Smith layups attempts getting blocked by Scottie Pippen?
That one didn't age. You might want to cut him out of the history books.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Wow.
Go New York, go New York, go.
And it's over. And scene. That was a punishment. I'm not sure who
Then
got it
bam,
worse.
Ewing dunks in your face.
Perloff got punished. We got punished. You got punished. Coming up, we dive into Kentucky.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She can put away a large pizza by herself. He's allergic to cheese. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Well, it turns out a little harder to fill that Kentucky men's basketball job than we may have thought. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Looks like Kentucky closing in on Mark Pope, who obviously played for the team, won a championship with the team, and is now the head coach at BYU, but not for long. Scott Drew from Baylor, Perloff, turned this job down, which
that is
was a little
amazing.
surprising.
Amazing. If I told you 20 years ago, about 10 years ago, 7 years ago, that the head coach of Baylor basketball, keep in mind, would turn down the Kentucky job, you would have said, I'm insane. Because this is the difference between the history of the two programs could not be more different. I think it's a new era for Kentucky, and I don't think that's really a good thing necessarily.
Well, they're just going to have to adjust to the times like everyone else. And maybe this is a little bit of a wake-up call, I would say, not for the school, but at least for the fan base. Like, listen, there are challenges that come with this program, and I'm not saying you have to lower your expectations, but you might just have to have a little patience. And I know the patience totally worn out with John Calipari. The welcome wore out. All of that wore out with Cal. But now with Mark Pope, I think this was a smart move for them. Bring in somebody who's got history with the program. The former players are all going to be on board with this. And I think because he has that sort of connection to Kentucky, maybe the fan base says, all right, let's give him a second to try to build something after Cal's gone.
You know, it's just a reminder to me, it is so hard to replace a legend. Obviously, I don't think Syracuse is ever going to, it's going to take a long time for Syracuse to get back to peak Boeheim. I don't think Duke is, they may never get back to peak Coach K. North Carolina's had success, but I mean, they have not been as consistently. I don't think they're going to be as successful. It's just the landscape of college basketball. I think Calipari, I think there's going to be a void here. Kind of like, what were the down years? Billy Gillespie was the famous bad hire there, but Tubby Smith had some success, then he had some downtime. I think this is going to be a downtime for Kentucky. And I think it's really hard to follow up a force of nature like John Calipari was there.
Well, I don't know, because I think, again, the fan base was ready for someone new. So it's not like you're getting rid of somebody who still has, like, you know, all this favor and everyone still loves this guy and want him to be there. We hear from, you know, people call our show like Big Dave and others who, you know, they were ready for Cal to go. They were sick of how he didn't change with the time and how college basketball had changed. They didn't like the coaching decisions. They didn't like 2 NBA-bound players coming off the bench. They didn't like Cal getting outcoached by the likes of Oakland and St. Peter's, and they didn't like anything about it. So in some ways, I think Mark Pope kind of comes into this, and I'm not saying the expectations are low because it's still Kentucky.
There's one expectation. It's a title or bust. There's no, even making the Final Four for Kentucky is not going to satisfy anyone. So how is he possibly going to do that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that maybe, at least in the beginning here, while he's trying to, you know, put his stamp, Mark Pope put his stamp on the Kentucky program, you might just have to, it can't be Final Four or bust or championship or bust in year 1 or year 2. You have to give this a second when you move on from anyone who's been, you know, Cal was there for 15 years. Like, you become really, your culture becomes embedded, and now you have to kind of change that. And I hope the fan base is a little patient because he's a good coach. I think it's an exciting way to play basketball, and I think overall they'll like it if they give it a chance.
So you're saying Kentucky fans should be patient. That's like saying Alabama football fans should be patient. New York Yankees fans should be patient. Duke basketball fans should be patient. These fans, it seems like to me during this coaching search have not been patient. It felt like, give me Danny Hurley. That's the vibe I got from this whole coaching search. So maybe Mark Pope will be fine, and maybe he's a better X's and O's coach than John Calipari. It's just going to be really, really hard. Calipari had so much talent there and only won one title. Honestly, I think Pope, the modern formula is to have old guys, right? Like, it's going to be really hard for him to break through here. I feel bad for the program. I just don't see them getting back to where they were.
I can't write them off. I can't.
You just said 2 years. That's going to feel like a decade in Kentucky basketball terms.
Everyone might have to grow up a little bit,
In the
same thing is going on with Alabama. You mentioned Alabama football. You mentioned Duke basketball, Syracuse basketball. All these teams that move on from these legendary coaches, it is hard. What Hubert Davis did going to his first Final Four the year after Roy Williams retires, that is not the norm. So you got to be a little patient and understand what's going on. And I think I don't say the boring hire because I don't want to disrespect Mark Pope like that, but Rick Pitino, that would have been great for people like you and me.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But you're really going to bring Pitino back? Give me a break. How many scandals? I mean, come on. And how old do you have to be? I'm not trying to be ageist here. I'm just saying, don't you want someone who could be around for the next 15 years for your program? Pitino's not going to be able to do that.
Well, I can't take my content hat off on this one. Rick Pitino would have been so funny. It would have been unbelievable. We would have at least enjoyed it. No, I don't think Pitino was obviously going to be a logical hire, although a fun hire. But you're telling me you really think that if you're a Kentucky fan, and I'd like to hear from them, you're not saying, oh, okay, Mark Pope, he was a good player back in the day. I think they expected a Danny Hurley type. And honestly, you think that UConn is the bluest of blue bloods. I think Kentucky be like, should have, at least a few years ago, I think they could have made a compelling case to get anybody there. Now I think that time is gone.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So that is part of the big story today. EJ, you got something? No?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, we talk about this in wrestling sometimes where sometimes the job, well, the wrestler makes the title, and sometimes the title makes the wrestler.
Okay.
I feel like Kentucky may be a situation where the job makes the guy, and you don't necessarily need a guy to make the job.
Right.
So Kentucky has resources.
Was a big star, so
he was
that
a big
was
star,
the guy makes the job.
But if you think about like Billy Clyde Gillespie and Tubby Smith were not huge mega names when they got hired to be the head coach at Kentucky. So I feel like this is a kind of job where you could hire a guy who, maybe is a little more up and coming, but the resources they'll have, the support that they'll have, they could make Mark Pope legendary. They could make him famous because of what they have in place. So I feel like it is going to be disappointing for Big Blue Nation to get a guy that's not as well known in terms of being a head coach. Of course, they know him as a player. But this is a situation where they have plenty of people, and plenty of resources to make this thing work.
But it's funny. I feel like they've lost some of their resource edge.
Because of NIL?
Of NIL, it just seemed like I thought that Calipari was kind of hinting like, hey, you're not all in on NIL. Like Calipari's like in Arkansas and say, wow, I got all these NIL funds. It doesn't feel like Kentucky is out resourcing people like they used to. All these SEC schools are spending tons of money on their rosters.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like Nick Saban with Alabama. It's like they're going to find the money. They have somebody, they're going to find the money. The boosters will be there when it matters. And let's be honest, you're talking about Kentucky is like sort of championship or bust or Final Four bust. How about get to the second weekend? And I think the fan base, I know, but
that's going to mean
let's
nothing.
Do that.
They lose that. I hear what you're saying in theory, but that's going to get tired quickly. Maybe you get past the Sweet 16 once, that's good, but they're going to be title or bust. This is Kentucky basketball we're talking about.
Yeah, but you know what? You say it's Kentucky basketball, and I agree with you. It's a special job and a special place in sports. But to your point before, it's not like people were running for the job, running to it. I think a lot of that was circumstances. Like, is Danny Hurley really going to leave when he just won 2 titles and thinks they're going to win a third?
Unlikely.
Billy Donovan, the NBA, how much quote unquote easier is it for him? He gets to be in Chicago. GM picks the players. They can be mediocre. He's not going to get fired. It's awesome for him. He's got a great setup.
And one quick point I want to make as well in terms of job making the guy. We think about some of the great coaches we have today or we've had recently.
Yep.
Jay Wright was at Hofstra. Mark Few was
recently. You said recently. What year did he go to Villanova?
No, I'm saying he went to Villanova. He went to Hofstra to Villanova.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying that was a long time ago.
No, but I'm saying if you're looking for a guy who's going to be one of these top coaches, Scott Drew was a relatively unknown, and then he makes Barrel into what it is. Mark Few was an assistant to Dan Monson. Yes, you have some of these guys like a Bill Self who was at Illinois, but you have coaches. Some of the best we have in the game today are not these guys that were at some big school that they went to another big school. So there's a chance that perhaps this is the better recipe to get a guy who you can keep long term.
I hear you.
855-212-4CBS. I think there's another part of this too. In this NIL era where the money, ask any coach or listen to any coach, like the money is really the number one thing. Yes, tradition, yes, being part of the program, yes, fitting in with your morals and values, all that stuff matters, but the money also matters. I don't think you have to be a star coach to recruit anymore. Like the star of a Coach K or Roy Williams might not hold the same appeal when it's more about the bottom dollar than it is about who you're playing for.
Yeah, so Mark Pope got, by the way, $5.5 million is a report number. It's not blowing anyone away. I think the funny thing is the SEC is crazy right now.
They are.
Because I think
basketball conference.
I think you see, you got Bruce Pearl and Rick Barnes in this, and Nate Oates in this conference. Where does Mark Pope fit in that list? It's going to be tough, way tougher than when Calipari left Memphis and came to Kentucky.
855-212-4227 is the number to call. Adrian is in Kentucky. Adrian, hello.
No, I'm in Maryland.
Oh, Adrian. This is Adrian in Maryland. I thought we had a second Adrian calling.
Hey, TGF guys. Hey, this is my question. I told EJ. I know. Roy Williams retired and Hubert Davis was on his staff, but does Kentucky not have like some assistants that would have stayed where Kentucky could have said, "Hey, we'll give you guys the head coaching job," or did he take all those assistants? That's what's bothering me here. They seem like they need to go out and make this big splash when they could have hired somebody in-house, just like Carolina did. It wasn't a big splash. Everybody was like, "What? Hubert Davis?" And look what Hubert Davis is doing. He knows what goes on in the building. He knows everything, and he does the recruiting. So why go out of the building?
No, Adrian, it's a great point. Good to talk with you. Adrian in Maryland, of course, but talking about Kentucky. But here's the thing. Cal had lost some assistants recently, and EJ, who's decked out head to toe in New York Knicks gear today, would know that because wasn't Johnny Bryant was one of the big guys.
Kenny Payne,
was one of the big guys who was with Cal forever and then ended up going to the Knicks.
Went to the Knicks and then went to Louisville.
Right. So I think there had been a little bit of turnover. I mean, some of the guys who he's had forever, like Orlando Antigua, who you might not even know his name, but if you saw his face, you're like, oh, yeah, that's the guy who's been sitting next to Cal for all those years. There were a lot of assistants. I think they instead went with a former player who had head coaching experience.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Again, I come back to the fact that, I mean, we all think Nate Oates was in the discussion? I think they probably there was a report they would have paid his $18 million buyout. The fact that you couldn't lure Nate Oates or Scott Drew that really says a lot to me.
Do you think that this is this makes Calipari look better or worse that they couldn't find someone of equal star power in the coaching circles to replace him right away?
Well, it feels a little worse in the sense that they've let him go. They let him walk out the door with no idea who was replacing him. Because I don't believe that Calipari was eager to go to Arkansas. I think he knew he was on the hot seat, right?
Yep.
And there was a report from a longtime Kentucky Wildcats reporter that he came back to Kentucky and said, this is what Arkansas is offering. Do you want to match it? And they said, no, thank you. So I think they were eager to get out of this, and they were obviously, it's been widely talked about, very happy that they didn't have to pay Cal's buyout. I think Cal did them a huge favor. So I think in a way it makes him look a little bit worse. But I do think next year he's going to look better because I think he's going to whoop them.
I think this makes Cal look pretty good. I mean, because he gets to leave on his own circumstances, whether, you might. I mean, they put out a press release that said he was going to coach all of next year, and then 2 weeks later he says, "Actually, I'm leaving." So
does it feel like he was leaving the way he wanted to, though?
Well, probably not, because he said he wanted to be a lifetime at Kentucky, but at the same time, he finds a pretty cushy landing spot for Arkansas, where if he goes to a Final Four, they'll build a statue, and he's going to have a lot of deep pockets, and it's not like people were running to replace it, because I think part of it is filling his shoes, And he might have had some bad tournament exits recently, but you are following up a guy who did make 4 Final Fours and won a title. So I think you would say, wow, not so easy to replace me, huh? You wanted me out so bad. You only want to push me out the door. Well, grass is always greener or bluer, I guess, with that job.
I got you.
Dad joke.
Not really.
Yeah. 855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do. EJ is king for a day, so we're all doing punishments around here. Perloff already had to sing. I've got to watch a movie this weekend that I don't want to. We've got updates on the future for LeBron James. We'll do that next. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff show. So I don't really follow my alma mater that much, Dartmouth College. We're not that good at sports. So although we are unionizing and changing the entire amateur sports world, regardless, I got a headline yesterday that definitely caught my attention. So they're giving out honorary degrees, and there are 2 athletes who are getting honorary degrees.
From Dartmouth?
They're not from Dartmouth. You give honorary degrees to people that didn't go to the honorary degrees.
Right.
So meaning you didn't graduate there.
Right.
So if you could guess either of them, one is the commencement speaker, and I'll give you a couple hints.
Wait, they're 2 athletes?
2 athletes are getting honorary degrees. One of them is probably the smartest athlete of our generation. The other is the most unexpected, to me, commencement speaker of a famous athlete. And I guarantee you will not get the speaker.
You.
No. Darn, are you
For
kidding
which
me?
role?
They usually
the
have like
smartest of our
Obama,
time?
I think, has done it recently.
Who is it? Bartolo Colon?
Bartolo Colon
I
would
would
have
not
been
have
good.
thought that.
Smart athlete.
Who's the smartest athlete of our time?
If you think
Is
about
it Ryan
H-
Fitzpatrick went to Harvard situation?
Is Josh Dobbs?
No, you're definitely, you guys are both in the right area. You might not remember this guy, but I think
Myron Roll.
Again, very, very close. Has often been mentioned with Myron Roll. You might not remember this guy. He was, I'll give you a hint, Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, the guy who was the John, he was the mathematician.
Yes, the MIT mathematician.
What's his name?
John Urschel.
Urschel.
Right. HBO Real Sports did
Yes.
the same exact story they did on Myron Roll about him. He's this genius who played lineman for the Ravens. It was great. He's getting an honorary degree. I have no idea why. But the speaker...
Is it someone a little more famous than John Urschel?
Way more famous.
Okay.
I will give you, it is an A-plus list athlete.
Current?
Recently retired.
Tom Brady.
It's not Tom.
Oh.
Drew Brees.
Not Drew Brees.
A football player?
International.
Ooh.
Messi? He's not retired.
No. Roger Federer.
Hideki Matsui.
How'd you get that?
It's Roger Federer?
Roger Federer is our commencement speaker at Dartmouth. Isn't that wild?
That is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he sounds really cool. I would listen to Roger Federer for 20 minutes.
Do you think he's ever been to New Hampshire? Why?
He's getting an honorary degree. I don't know. Maybe there's a court up there. I have no idea.
No, there's got to be the president or somebody, the board of trustees. Someone's got to be a tennis fan. This is how they're meeting Roger Federer.
Or it's Anna Wintour or something. Yeah.
What?
Roger Federer.
I think he would have great advice for graduates. You know, keep your eye on the ball. Get your feet underneath. Yeah, set your feet.
Don't play on clay if Rafa Nadal's out
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, you know he's going to go high to your backhand.
I actually have no idea what goes on in the daily life of Roger Federer. Not the slightest clue.
I always thought it was really interesting that some of the European athletes, not all of them, but some of them, would drink like a glass of red wine like hours before their match. Like Federer would have a lunch at like noon or something and then play center court at the U.S. Open at like 8 o'clock at night. And I know one glass of wine's not going to do anything. It's just different mentality.
Pretty cool, though. That's way better than any. I think those are always hot and boring. I hate graduations. I think Federer's a great catch.
That's awesome.
I mean, Messi would have been cool, too.
He's not actually retired, though. I forgot.
Yeah. Does Messi, he couldn't really, would he give a speech in English, though? That I'm not so sure about either.
Get a translator. What could go wrong?
What could go That's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay.
Just don't do it on casino night.
It's actually coming live to you from the Turning Stone Casino. That was his choice. Bogusch has headlines. Hello.
Do I now?
Do you? Do you want me to keep going with, I've got a headline?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Not to be on your turf here. I'm not trying to be on your corner. But there's some rumblings, and I almost didn't even want to bring this up because I didn't want Perloff to get too excited today. But there are some rumblings, according to Bleacher Report, that LeBron James may be willing to relocate to the East Coast, and perhaps Philadelphia is the place he's looking
Okay, I've fallen for this before. Tell me more.
One Eastern Conference executive said If anyone would do it, it'd be Daryl. And by do it, they meant draft Bronny to get to LeBron.
Well, that's what I don't understand. Would 27 other teams draft Bronny to get to LeBron? You need a Daryl Morey. Don't everybody want their team to draft Bronny?
Well,
don't the Knicks want to draft Bronny?
Yeah,
I don't want Bronny.
Why? Who cares? He sits on the bench and LeBron comes.
Yeah.
Well, also, it's not going to be this year. So Bronny's going back to college, right? Do we know? Actually,
No,
do
we don't know that.
He's gonna do yet. He's in the draft, but he also is in the portal.
Oh, right. That's what it was. He's in the portal. These days, you can actually declare for the draft and then take it back and go back to college.
Yes.
I'm not getting my hopes up. Do you guys really think, if you had to handicap it, what are the odds that LeBron really comes to Philadelphia?
Well, I know what Daryl Morey likes to do as the GM. He's someone who puts stars together. That's it.
Name the stars that he's ever gotten together.
Russell Westbrook with James Harden, James Harden with Dwight Howard, James Harden
with the
Chris
ghost
Paul,
of Dwight Howard.
Joel Embiid with James Harden, Joel Embiid
What's the
with
common ingredient here?
James Harden. But again, he's tried to put every superstar under the sun.
Yeah.
And we're not saying it worked. We're saying he did it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Did you really just say, tell me when Morey's done that?
Well, I mean, it's
Those are
always
just like the
Harden.
ones I had off the top of my head.
He's always Harden. It's Harden.
Right, but that's all he's done to put stars together, and like the last three are for the team that you root for.
Wait, that's a
Jimmy Butler. But that wasn't him. That was
he got rid of Butler, or actually Butler was already gone. This is not happening. LeBron is not coming to Philadelphia. I'll tell you that right now.
We can all hope and pray. Bogusch has headlines.
By the way, I'll bet you. I'll do two bets. Brady's never coming back, and LeBron is staying in L.A. Why won't the Lakers just draft Bronny? Just get it over with. Stick him on the bench and keep LeBron.
I kind of think that too. I think if anyone's going to do it, it's just the Lakers who, like, obviously, right? But everyone would understand what this is. The 76ers crowd, by the way, would be merciless on both of them if it doesn't work. If you draft Bronny and get LeBron, and then LeBron somehow finally does show his age or something happens, the last place I'd want to be if I were either of them would be Philadelphia. That could do major psychological damage to Bronny.
Grab your popcorn.
Let's make it happen now.
Bronny won't even be on the court. He's not a factor here.
He'll be on the bench, and
Like
you guys can
Thanasis.
throw batteries from any place.
I don't think, listen, the Sixers saw Ben Simmons come and go. Joel Embiid's been on and off the court. The expectations are so low. I don't think they really care.
Ben Simmons needed a security detail when they played in Philadelphia. What are you talking about?
I mean,
The expectations are low. What are you smoking today?
in Philly right now, there is nobody's thinking deep run for the Sixers. It's just not a thing anymore.
Have you met our boss?
Yeah, excuse me?
Who runs the #1 76ers podcast?
Spike every day in the break room guarantees me he's like, the Sixers are going nowhere. He has been saying that consistently for 8 years.
All right. Well, we can agree to disagree on that.
Wait,
I just
do you think that
it'd be bad for you can agree with this.
Yeah.
It wouldn't exactly be great for Bronny's mental if he gets the clear nepotism draft pick and then goes to Philly, and if anything even goes wrong a little bit, the fan base is going to rip them both mercilessly.
I do disagree with it. I disagree with that. Because the level of care is not, it's nothing like Eagles care. It's just not the same thing.
But they've turned on every guy that has screwed them. They
Turn-
turned on Ben Simmons. They
Turn- you
turned
say
on
Ben Simmons.
on James Harden. Well, we're saying
There's no turn on. Those guys are creeps.
But no, but
Everybody
we're saying
turn
our
on
point,
them.
though, that
Anyone who has a brain would turn on those guys, not Philadelphia fans.
No, but I'm saying though, those went poorly. So to Maggie's point, if this goes poorly, if they could turn on guys who were former All-Stars, you think they're going to turn on a nepotism hire? Of course
There's
they
no
would.
turning on James Harden. He was terrible. Same thing happened in Brooklyn. You don't turn on James Harden. He turns on you before. But here's the other thing. I disagree with you guys. You don't think there's a bunch of teams that would draft Bronny to stash him on the bench? I feel like that would be a much more common thought.
I think that there's probably a lot of teams that think that LeBron's kind of blowing smoke here, that he'll say,
Really?
I'll go wherever Bronny gets drafted, and then when it's actually Charlotte, he's not actually coming.
What about Atlanta or Indiana? You don't think he would do that? He
I
played
do
in
not
Cleveland.
think he would go to Indiana. Atlanta, maybe. Atlanta at least is like a big city with production, and it's like LA and, in a lot of ways. I do not.
I think it's also about a championship too. He went back to Cleveland because he saw, Kyrie's there, I can win a title. No, I think it's way more wide open than that. What's the harm in drafting Bronny? Even Philly fans would be like, we know why you're there. They're not going to kill little Bronny. Little nice
you guys
Bronny.
kill everybody.
You said Ben Simmons and James Harden. Those are the two worst players.
Well, you boo Embiid.
Right.
And
no, they don't really boo and bead.
All right. Bogusch,
Boo and
let's
bead.
continue.
Get out of here.
We have to give facts on this show.
Yeah, where's the jail in the Wells Fargo Center? That's somewhere it's in the bottom,
No.
like Veteran Stadium?
And it's packed every night.
You guys do not understand Philadelphia sports. It's all about the Eagles.
Well-
It's all about the Eagles. So that's why you
Says the
can't
guy
get to
wearing
me
a
on
Phillies
it.
hat today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Tell Ben
nice.
Simmons the security detail next time the Nets play against the Sixers.
Wait, do the Nets fans like Ben Simmons? Everybody hates Ben Simmons, right?
Well, we're talking about the fear and the psychological damage that can happen, which, I mean, if there's an exhibit A of psychological damage that Philadelphia could do to an athlete, Ben Simmons is that guy.
We're told not to wear jerseys of opposing teams in the stands in Philadelphia.
In a football game.
That's ridiculous. It shouldn't be allowed. That shouldn't be allowed.
It's a little much with you guys.
That's very, very much.
Right for football, but that's football. That's life.
I should be
Who
able to go
cares?
with a Viking jersey on or Jet jersey if I wanted to.
Perloff told me when we were going to WrestleMania, double-checked which license plate I had on my car. Because he said if
You
it's
have
New York,
options?
I would have gotten keyed, which I don't have New York. I have New Jersey, but ironically, you have a New York license plate. And if your car got keyed, even though you're a huge Philly fan, that would have been ridiculous.
That's why I parked away from the stadium. But
now that makes sense why I had to walk 30 minutes to the stadium with him. I was like, why are we parking?
Why am I in Delaware?
Yeah, why are we going across the Ben Franklin Bridge to get to Lincoln Financial
This
Field?
is why he wants to go to Chicago to get to San Antonio because he's used to being as far away from where he wants to go as possible.
You guys have to understand. They're the Eagles, and then everything else is a minor league team there. Of course, you're not going to wear a Giants. You can wear a Knicks jersey into a Sixers game. No one's going to blink either.
That can't be true.
They're nice. It's a totally different
I have friends
dynamic.
who can confirm that's not true.
It's so different.
All right, we've hit our Philadelphia quotient for today. What's next?
Have we? The story was finished in Philadelphia, and just like the end of Rocky II, the ultimate underdog became a champion.
Crossroads. Cover. Finished the story.
Still getting goosebumps.
Wait a minute. What the hell is going on around here?
Wait, what's going on?
Hold on. That's not sports. What did you just do?
Whoa.
Well, it is
sit back for a
sports
second.
on today because for King of the Day,
Oh.
EJ here has decided that Andrew Bogusch's update
Yes.
will be a WWE update from this past weekend of WrestleMania.
Oh, God. Okay, so EJ's king for a day because he got the most games right in the NCAA tournament, our March Madness bracket. So now we all pay punishments. Perloff sang earlier today. If you missed that, you can always rewind on the absolutely free to download Odyssey app.
This is a team you don't want to miss. We are New York. We are the New York Knicks.
Just a
baby.
slice. I have to watch a Marvel movie that I do not want to watch because I hate comic book movies. So thank you, EJ. My weekend's ruined. And now Bogusch has to do an update that is all WrestleMania related. You hate wrestling.
I don't hate wrestling. I hate people who think wrestling is real. Hey, guys. So that was Michael Cole, WWE on the call. Cody Rhodes, the son of the legendary Matt Holliday, defeating Roman.
No, do it again.
Sorry. The son of legendary Dusty Rhodes, defeating Roman Reigns to become the new undisputed Universal Champion. Rhodes did it with the help of the likes of John Cena, The Undertaker, Jey Uso, and friend of the show, Seth freaking Rollins, all named I learned roughly 5 minutes ago. The win gives Rhodes his first world title with the company and ends the 1,316-day championship reign of Roman Reigns. That was the fourth longest title reign in WWE history. Rhodes, now you remember, won that match under bloodline rules, stipulations that I still don't really understand, but were set in place because of the results from night one of WrestleMania. Now, with only EJ in attendance because Maggie craved a stale Wawa cheesesteak and Baby Perloff needed to go to bed, Rhodes and Rollins were defeated by Reigns and his cousin, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, in a tag team match.
Wow. Bogusch delivering this deadpan is the best part of it. If you're just tuning in, EJ's king for a day, which means Bogusch has to deliver an all WrestleMania sports update.
And there's so much left.
Some great writing, too.
Wait, how about, can we fast forward a little? We got Tiger on the course? Okay.
On Monday night's edition of Raw, The Rock indicated while he will be out of action for a while to probably shoot the 57th sequel of Fast and the Furious.
No one's going to watch.
He would eventually come back to avenge his cousin's loss.
When The Rock comes back, Cody, whether you're champion or you're not champion, The Rock is going to come back for you. So Cody Rhodes, your story with Roman Reigns is over and you did it. But our story has just begun.
Nobody pauses for drama like The Rock.
Honestly, he's got to be in traction for like a couple days. There's no way that 2 nights of wrestling must have taken a huge toll on his body.
What was he doing during that? What happened during that?
Took off his sunglasses. Let him know how serious he was.
Gotcha.
No people's eyebrow or anything. Just looking right in the eyes.
He's probably shot 3 films since that was a week ago. He's probably already got 2 things in the can already. And he's running the UFL. Isn't he the commissioner of the UFL?
The owner.
Wait, hold on. It's like I got these sunglasses. Like, can I do it?
Nope.
Nope.
You can't.
Hey.
You're welcome, YouTube.
Another key title change over the weekend. A new world heavyweight champ was crowned because why wouldn't we have more titles to give out?
Oh my God! He's coming! Senor Money in the bank! Damian Priest is here! Damian Priest running to the ring with the contract! And Punk is beating the hitches the briefcase on McIntyre's face!
Damian Priest, a briefcase only on Raw. Damian Priest cashed in his Money in the Bank contract to beat a distracted Drew McIntyre with a South of Heaven choke slam to claim the World Heavyweight title. Priest earned the contract by securing the Money in the Bank briefcase in a ladder match last summer.
By the way, this is Bogusch executing a punishment, if you will, that EJ has deemed he has to do because EJ is king for a day. This is an all WrestleMania themed update. Also, South of Heaven is a nice euphemism. It's like where OJ's going. Go ahead.
It's starting to hurt too, by the way. Yeah. He is just the second WWE star to cash in the briefcase to win a world title at WrestleMania. I'd like to think, guys, that this show is based on hustle, loyalty, and respect. But WWE will soon be without the man who made that phrase famous.
When that time is gone, that means that it's done. I'm actively trying to craft that path right now. So I've put a line in the sand to myself for 50, and I honestly think it's going to be before that. There's your breaking news.
How old are you?
I'll be 47 in a few weeks.
Oh, so we got time still.
You got about 700, about 1,000 days.
Who counts down to 50 by the day?
Wait, who was that? Sorry, Cena?
John Cena.
That was John Cena on the Pat McAfee show, the leader of C Nation, saying he will retire from in-ring competition within the next 3 years. Cena is just one title win away from becoming the only, and how is this possible, 17-time world champion in history, but has not won a singles belt since 2017.
Please tell me it's over.
I mean, it's easy to win 16 world championships, but 17, no one could do that.
Also, this is such a funny thing about professional wrestling. This is the all wrestling update that Bogusch has to do to pay off a punishment to EJ. That, like, you're basically like, all right, I got to draw a line in the sand. 50 years old. 50.
That's probably when you're allowed out of your contract.
Yeah, probably.
Finally, some final housekeeping here. The WWE draft, and this is where I quit. Anyway, it will take place April 26th and 29th.
Oh,
Pete
really?
can't go to these remote broadcasts either. The NXT champion Ilya Dragunov and NXT women's champ Roxanne Perez. Seriously, how many titles are there? Have both officially declared for the draft, and we thank them in advance for their service overseas. Guys, back to you.
Wow. Do you think, what do you think gets a higher rating, the WNBA draft or the...
What are we drafting?
drafting talent
Right.
to the show.
From where? Oh, NXT is a different circuit.
Well, NXT is like the
AAA?
development, but also the stars on Raw and SmackDown can be drafted to a different show. So we're putting all the wrestlers in the pool, and they're doing a draft.
Yeah.
By the way, John Cena, I just looked up. He's appearing in 5 movies this year. On top of that,
Do you remember him from the Oscars?
yes,
He wore nothing.
Yeah, how
Totally
are
naked at the Oscars.
The Rock's got like 6 movies this year. How is this all happening? What are these people? How does this all going down? How do you win a title and do 3 films in a year?
I mean, how long does the wrestling stuff really take you?
I'm
You do a
wondering
little
that.
promotion. You get in the ring for 25 minutes. I mean, I'm making it out to be a lot simpler than it is.
Is it though?
Well, the last time The Rock tried to do it, he popped his groin and didn't come back for another 10 years to wrestle. Basically,
I get it.
It's
Is that what
hard
happened?
No, yeah, he lost to Cena and he popped his groin in the match. And
What does that mean? Pop your groin.
he tore his groin. Tore the groin muscle. Yeah, and
I don't even want to know what you thought it meant.
Right. Just know he was in pain. Let's just call that.
Yeah.
Back on Chippendales?
Yeah, he was in pain. So that was
Rock
because
also
he had not been
starring on
wrestling for a year.
Can I ask one more question? Did The Rock, I feel like when we saw The Rock in Las Vegas at that press conference at the Super Bowl, I feel like he got a lot more in shape by WrestleMania. Is that possible?
Apparently he was training. WWE sent him 2 rings. He was training every day. That he wasn't at Raw or SmackDown. He was training every day to get ready for this
Likely
match.
story.
The skepticism on Maggie's face when you said
The
that.
face Maggie just made when I said that they sent him 2 rings. He was training every day.
Why would he need 2 rings?
Exactly.
That's a great question. This is The Rock.
That eye
This is
roll
The
was
Rock.
so
I mean,
severe.
come on.
I think my eyes are going to get stuck in the back of my head.
You should
to
see
roll
that eye roll. That was a hard eye roll
No, it
where you
looked-
said 2 rings.
No, the 2 rings is ridiculous. But the other part is like he's got to get in shape. It's The Rock we're talking about. This is not exactly someone who let themselves go.
Look, Maggie, ring shape is different than actor shape, okay? Like,
Sure.
it's
I think
different
so.
pliabilities.
They're both acting.
You need to be in a different physical form.
But again, whether he weighs 250 or 550, if someone goes The Rock's winning, he's gonna win.
But the
He
match
still
got
needs
to
to
be
lift him
good.
up, I guess.
I mean, you try to run the ropes. I know you can't.
I just thought it was really funny. It's like, yeah, because The Rock is someone who like really fluctuates. Like the guy's always.
I actually
okay.
said to EJ, I'm like, wow, The Rock looks a little, I don't know.
Extra
a little
Rocky?
dad bod at that Vegas thing. I
There
will
is-
pull visual evidence of this and show you guys.
There is nobody who is more. I don't know how to put. How do I? There's no one who holds athletes' bodies to a higher standard than Andrew Perloff. You are.
Well, The Rock better be
relentless.
chiseled.
When LeBron James had his commercial that was on TV when he did like that Nordic track kind of
Not
thing,
tonal.
and LeBron and Perloff's like, man, he looks horrible in that commercial. Like, he's got a 10-pack. He's literally shirtless on TV. There's no way they're going to make him look bad. He's like, he's really let himself go. I'm like, yeah, like LeBron's home scarfing down some Papa John's pizzas and then going out to a commercial shoot. Not happening.
Just saying. I don't know. What he should shoot those during the season when he's in shape. That's all I'm saying. The Rock in Vegas was not in shape. I'm just saying it. I'm going to pull visual evidence. You guys will see what I'm saying.
Delta 9's in the chat says Maggie's eyes are going to roll out of her head when she watches Captain America: Civil War. If I rolled my eyes over that,
You're actually gonna like it.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate all these movies.
That's a very well received movie. I would say that's probably got like
By
a
who?
10-year-olds? Like a
Sorry.
90 on Rotten
by
Tomatoes.
me, it's a
Give
good.
me a break.
Are you talking about Paw Patrol? Or are you talking about a Captain America movie?
Paw
What are you
Patrol.
talking about?
Paw Patrol sucks.
Yeah, I mean, this is
I don't know about that.
Oh, Pete, there's so
wait a
many
minute.
better cartoons.
Wait a minute. I have to watch it 50 hours a day.
I think you meant the movie. You're saying Paw Patrol in general? It's like, what are you talking about?
Have you guys watched an episode of Paw
Yes,
Patrol?
I have.
I've seen every episode of Paw Patrol.
It's the worst.
Why is it the worst?
There's no interaction at all between the kid. All the characters suck. The
What?
The
They're
jokes are
dogs.
lame.
Are you kidding me?
dogs.
No, they're all rock.
Also, like, hello everyone in what's it called? Bay City? No, it's called Adventure Bay.
Right.
You haven't found out anyone to take down the other mayor except for some freaking dogs. It's so.
Yeah, hold
Wait.
on.
That's an accomplishment.
Wait. So you don't like those dogs? I thought everybody liked those dogs. They're all
I
lovable
love those
characters.
dogs.
Okay,
Now, the
this
two
is-
issues I have is one that the mayor's best friend is a chicken.
Yeah,
That
that's so weird. Why
And
did
the
you
other
get the
thing-
chicken in her purse?
I think
The
you
other
voted
thing
in.
is, if you ever, the timing seems a little weird. Like there's an out of control avalanche and a car's going down, and they're like, and then they go to headquarters and have a 10-minute meeting on how to save this, and somehow fly across the country and get there
Big
in time
hill.
to save it.
Not just
The
the
timing's a bit
inconsistency
off.
there, but Paw Patrol, you can go from all these different climates in like a matter of seconds. So you go to the Avalanche, then all of a sudden you're going to be on a beach. It makes no sense.
It's like Denver, minus the beach part.
Different city. I mean, I can't.
City. They're
It's like Denver.
Chase is on the case. I don't know. You know, like Sky is a feminist icon in the dog world. The pilot
Drives a helicopter?
Yeah, she is a
She's
rock
the
star.
Caitlin Clark of female dogs.
Yeah.
Hey, what's not to like about that?
What cartoon do you? If you don't like Paw Patrol, I don't even want to know what you're going to say about Octonauts.
Puppy dog pals.
Give me a little Blaze in the Monster Machines. 1, 2, 3, let's blaze. Which
Oh,
also
there
is
it
just
is.
funny. DJ Khaled was
So
like
any
a
more
guest
weed
voice.
jokes in Paw Patrol?
Kinda.
Okay.
I missed
Dog
it.
do the remix?
Is that a newer show, Blaze? I've never heard of that one.
Blaze rocks.
By the way, Andrew, where's the Islander score? I still
I
have it.
didn't write this update.
Well, you should have the Islander score still there.
I was not allowed to add anything. Did you listen to the show?
Well, you should have it.
I had to read what EJ gave me, except for
Several times.
gosh. I didn't say gosh, EJ. I'm sorry. I couldn't bring myself to say gosh.
Good.
Okay.
It was a very well done update.
I'll say
All right,
it.
so punishment paid. So that's 3 down with 1 to go. EJ is king for a day. I got my punishment. Perloff got his. And all of us by extension.
I have an objection.
And then Bogusch just got his. Now Bellatti's the last man standing.
Where's Kaplan's? Kaplan was upset that he was left off the standings. Why is he not? Why he wanted to be part of that?
Yeah.
I'm in
remember
second.
when-
I'm in third. Why is he not being punished right
Yeah,
now?
we probably should punish him. Is he
Wow.
in today? Cap, are you
Good
here?
question.
Do you
We'll
remember
punish him
when Nick in Texas, who organized the bracket, called in with updates the other day and left Cap and Bellotti off?
Amazing.
Yeah, good job, Nick.
It was great.
Get lost.
And he tagged Andrew Bogut in the post.
Yeah.
They've said it for the Warriors. He's amazing.
Good guy.
Yes. Bogut wakes up in Australia. He's just like, the hell?
The funny thing is, he kept tagging Pete in all the posts, and then he
Right.
didn't mention him on air.
I've been here since there's been
It was classic. You had to run out. It was,
I had to
you
leave
should
for
see
a minute.
Bellotti's face
I'm
was
like, when did
amazing.
this happen? Did I black out?
I've been here since the network didn't exist.
And you now will be here for a new network,
Yeah.
as we all hope to.
Thanks, Nick.
Andrew Bogut getting tagged is awesome. Well, Nick says sorry.
No, we love Nick. Nick's
yeah, Nick's
awesome.
the best.
The best.
Nick's awesome. He really is. Do you want to come up with something for Kaplan?
We got some time. Yeah.
Take a quick break. We've got lots more to do, including we've got an update for you on Tiger Woods. Do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, little update for you from Augusta. Tiger Woods right now, even through 16. He's still finishing out the round from yesterday, though. He's now tied for 29th place. This is going to be a really difficult day for Tiger, considering how it just broke wrong for him. You know, the weather was terrible yesterday, got delayed, couldn't finish the round, so now he's got to play 23 holes in one day.
Yeah, I mean, the wind is still, that we can actually see right now, is blowing really hard. It's supposed to get insane later this afternoon. Here in New York and in Augusta, I saw 40 miles an hour. It's weird to me. Golf tournaments depend so much on the timing of when you tee off.
Oh, yeah.
It seems unfair, but at least day one and day two, I'm rooting for Tiger just to prove you guys wrong. I hope he finishes 4 days because I feel like we're divided into teams that you guys think Tiger should hang it up. But I think that if he gets close enough, there's just going to be so much adrenaline going through that old man's body. He's not even old.
Well, his body's old, though.
Yeah, his body's old. But I think like the competition can fuel him to an extent where he can ignore the ankle, the knee, the back. Maybe I'm just an idealist here, but I think there's another Tiger run coming. Probably not this year, but I'm telling you, at some point, we're going to hear from this man again.
So Bryson DeChambeau is going to tee off right around noon, and he's the leader at 7 under, with Scotty Scheffler tees off just before 2 o'clock, and he is second. He's 6 under par. You want to know what's funny about this? I'm looking at the leaderboard for the Masters, and I'm seeing, Phil Mickelson.
No.
We have not talked about, there was a 6 months where we only talked about Phil Mickelson because of all the live golf, and he was in the news every single day. I feel like he's getting absolutely no coverage whatsoever. He is going to tee off just a little before 1 o'clock. He's 1 over, tied for 38th place.
I keep hearing
Brooks Koepka and John Rahm.
He's super skinny right now, right? That's the big headline on him. Or something, he's in really good shape again. It's funny, the live PGA conflict gets a lot of headlines. To me, that all kind of goes away once the Masters start. The majors, because obviously casual fans jumping on the majors, like, is anyone really do you care about the Live PGA split? Or like, I know there's a lot of controversy going on right now. It feels like none of that matters the day the first ball is hit.
Well, also, I think there is a lot of controversy, but some of it sort of went away when Liv acquired the PGA. So
right, but they're fighting big time right now for some ridiculous amount of money.
No, I get that, but that you're going to lose me with that because millionaires fighting over billions of dollars I could care less about, but I do care about the future of the sport. And once, Rory had drawn his line in the sand and Tiger and some of the PGA guys were very loyal, and then the PGA kind of sold him out, and they joined Liv anyway. And it kind of took a lot of the steam out of that entire story.
Well, I think the whole Live PGA thing, the day that the major said the Live guys can compete in our tournaments, I think after that, if they had said, if the Masters had said, if you go to Live, you can't be here, then I don't think Brooks Koepka and those guys go over. But once they said that, then why not take the money? Like, who cares about not who cares about the PGA tournaments, but that was such a huge issue.
Coming up, we've got a lot more to do, including what was one of the biggest stories, maybe of the year. O.J. Simpson passed away 2 days ago. Get our thoughts on that in just a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She once fell off a ski lift. He was called in for questioning. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Interesting day yesterday when the news came down that O.J. Simpson had passed away. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Not sure about you, Perloff, but I got hit with a lot of different emotions with that news because O.J. was so many things. And this quintessential sort of American story in a lot of ways. Now, when I first think of OJ, the first thing that comes to mind is obviously this is someone who I believe was a murderer and someone who was found responsible for the murder of 2 people and someone who was a domestic abuser. And I know that obviously there's so much more to his story than that. But that was the first thing that came to mind, is that his legacy, first and foremost, will always be of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to me. Yesterday, I was walking on the streets, and I must have overheard 5 conversations. Did you hear about OJ? Can you believe about OJ? I just think it's, Jim Brown passed away recently, and it was an interesting time, and a lot of famous athletes have died. There's not been a reaction like this. He's so much more than an athlete. He's a complete cultural force in a negative way, I think. But I was just looking at, if you were going to do a dream interview list of people who you would want to ask, what was the real story with OJ? It's incredible how many people he was connected to. People that we didn't know before the murders, then we knew now. The Kardashian family. Bob Costas, I saw being interviewed, worked with him for years. The guys who did Naked Gun, who thought he was this funny guy. All the football players, Ahmad Rashad, any famous person, all the people in Hollywood. He was so deeply connected to so many entertainment worlds. Like, you can't separate him from almost any of them.
Well, that's why I think he's got this sort of, maybe it's not a quintessential American story, but it's definitely a very American story of someone who, pulled themselves out of poverty, used athletics to get themselves out, and then become adored. I mean, how we worship athletes in this country to the point of it gets to be too much, where we excuse too much of their behavior if it warrants that. He is that, right? Who reached these all-time highs in terms of athletics and had the charisma, the good looks, and all of that to have him cross over to become an even bigger star. And then to have the fall from grace that he had also was so spectacular. The rise was spectacular, and the fall was so devastating because of the crimes that he was accused of. And then he eventually did go to jail on an armed robbery charge, trying to get his Heisman Trophy back from a hotel in Las Vegas, and how he went from being beloved to just being mostly, I think, a pariah in society. And again, it touches on wealth and wealth inequality, race. Absolutely is a major theme with O.J. Simpson, not just the trial, but just, his life, fame, sports, just L.A., Hollywood, all of it. There's media and TV and reality TV and court TV. There's just no part of this. The judicial system, how unequal that is. There's like no part of America that can't be told through the lens of O.J. Simpson. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that. Yes, and he was unique in a sense. I don't think the trial.
Not quintessential America. Sorry,
I don't think the trial taught us much about how the average trial goes because the dude had F. Lee Bailey, Alan Dershowitz, and our guy Johnny Cochran working for him. So I think unless you're saying like, oh, you can buy your way out of the murder, but even that wasn't really what happened.
No, I think that we're talking about O.J. Simpson who passed away 2 days ago. I think that according to his family, he was battling prostate cancer. I think that for a lot of people, it was, and I was rewatching the documentary last night, Made in America, that you can't just have the O.J. trial in a vacuum and not think about the Watts riots, Rodney King, and other times when people of color were mistreated by the justice system. And then now you have all of that with the O.J. trial and how he was acquitted. And that felt like, for some people, just a victory overall for the black community because the LAPD had a racist element.
Right. There's also, too, the actual sort of, people who are curious about legal trials. Like, you had every detail possible. I remember so many people were kind of litigating it in their own head and going over evidence. And, hey, what did you hear? Everyone has a theory, so like the JFK assassination. Hey, where did he put the knife? Explain the glove. Did Kato Kalin know something? How did it, what did Mr. Kardashian do? Is it Robert Kardashian?
Yeah.
What was his role in helping cover up the crime? There's so many theories, and those will never go away because, as far as we know, he didn't confess anything toward the end. That's what I think. There was always holding out hope that at some point right before he died, he would say, I did it. But as far as I know, he never did it. I read that people who were around him in the last few weeks had to sign NDAs. So maybe he said something deliriously. But this is incredible. But there's always, OJ did have a successful, he just left a little seed of doubt in some people's minds. I don't have any doubt. I believe he did it.
Yeah.
But it would have been satisfying in a way to hear him finally admit it. But yeah, I guess he couldn't. I guess that was never going to happen.
No, I don't think so. And we're asking you, what part of O.J. Simpson's story do you find yourself going back to after you heard the news or whenever it got to you that he has passed away? So there's another thing about the O.J. trial specifically, which is this where were you when the verdict came down moment, which to me, I was born in the early 80s. That was the first one of my life. So I don't remember the Challenger exploding, and obviously wasn't around for a JFK assassination. But that was the first time it was a where are you? I have a vivid memory of it. It's the first kind of cultural touchstone moment like that I can remember. Yeah.
What about the white Bronco chase?
Well, the Bronco chase for sure. I mean,
yeah.
but again, I feel like I remember a little bit about the Bronco. I remember where I was for the verdict. Why you find both?
Yeah, for me, it was the Bronco chase because you really thought he was going to kill himself at a certain point of that. The verdict, was also a big deal. I was at my parents' house for both of these things. I remember I was watching the Knicks Rockets with my dad, and we were really psyched for the game. We were big NBA fans in the 90s, as everyone was back in the day. And just like, there was nothing that could take me away from this finals. And this story took me 100%. Like, I didn't care who won the game anymore. All I cared about is, oh my God, is he going to live the rest of this day? The funny thing too is, I think it's important to realize technology. There was no Twitter. There was no internet. Like,
right.
You had no way of really, it was a different way of communicating. You had to watch TV to find out what was happening, and you had to talk to friends. Right? Can you imagine if any of this happened now during the digital age? It'd be absolutely out of control. But back then, it was a little more focused because we only had a limited number of channels, and it was OJ all the time, and that's all anybody was talking about for a better part of a year.
And it crossed over, you're so right, and it crossed over into the pop culture too, because that was also back in a time when like late night shows mattered, and they were doing
huge.
OJ every single night.
And then Norm Macdonald on Saturday Night Live afterwards, and it goes on and on and on.
At the ESPYs, I mean, Norm had the famous line about OJ at the ESPYs. it was so big for so long. I wonder if the digital age now, if we would have been as focused on it. Of course, because of OJ's celebrity, that just drew in so many people, and it was, and obviously the crimes were so heinous that it was so serious that you had to pay attention to it. But now in this day and age, we're so fractured. Like, you get whatever news you want, you watch whatever shows you want. We don't have a lot of things that we all do together. That's why the Super Bowl is still such a big deal. And I don't know, is there anything else that we all watch?
I think if we all paid attention to Taylor Swift being in a box of the Chiefs game, I think double homicide, I think it would still be big. Actually, maybe even bigger, because everyone would have put out their own theory on social media. There hasn't been a trial like that. I mean, when you think about how many famous trials have there been all time, I can't remember following a trial on court TV. Since what are the big trials on OJ? Nothing really. So, but I actually am a big fan of like trial shows, like we all are. And it was not that there's anything funny about it or fun about it, but there was like everyone was playing detective. I mean, literally, you were sitting there and trying to put the clues together of what happened. I think we still are in some sense, because there's still a few unanswered questions. Like, as far as I know, they never found the knife. And
that was the OJ, when he got, and again, we're talking about OJ Simpson, who passed away 2 days ago.
Yeah.
He was dealing with prostate cancer, and we didn't know this, and his family put out a statement. And I think that, when OJ did get acquitted, now he got found liable in the civil trial for their deaths, but did get acquitted, obviously, very famously, of the murder trial. Said, now I'm going to dedicate my life to finding the real killers, and yet smash cut, and here he is on the golf course and in Miami and partying, and it all felt so cheap and gross after that. And again, maybe this is different. I have no recollection of OJ's playing career. I only remember him as a famous person.
No recollection. You weren't alive.
I wasn't alive, but I've also learned about players who I never saw. Like, I know what Johnny Unitas was like, even though I never saw Unitas. I know what Muhammad Ali's boxing style was, even though I never saw him. With OJ, there's just nothing, and he's played for a team that I'm a fan of. There's no sports there with me when it comes to him.
But there were before. Wait, what do you mean you like kind of put him out of your mind? Because you must remember the highlights of him. In the
highlights,
snow.
yeah, but like there's no like he's almost. I think he's been scrubbed. I think from a lot of NFL history.
Oh, I hear you. We take it one step back. You know why I thought he was guilty the whole time?
Why is that?
There's one detail that got to me, and everyone has their own detail. It was the cut on the finger.
Right.
Like, how do you get that gigantic cut on the finger just randomly the same night as two people were? That wasn't that obvious?
I don't remember. The one details that I remember is obviously the glove don't fit, you must acquit, which was the Johnny Cochran line. The Mark Furman finding out that the lead detective had said the N-word, had this sort of racism in his past, I guess.
That was such a huge deal.
That was such a huge deal, and rightfully. And then the other part, which is that this is funny what you remember, that when OJ went to Chicago. So right after the murders happen, he goes to Chicago, and the police call him, and he's in a hotel room in Chicago. Yeah. And they think they're breaking the news to him that his wife has been murdered along with someone else.
Yeah.
And he doesn't ask how they were killed. Like he's like, oh my gosh, and they have this transcript, but he never asked what happened.
Yeah.
And maybe in your grief, or if you really are stunned, maybe it wouldn't occur to you, but you would think you'd ask what happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you wouldn't need to if you did it, which is what happened. I remember too. There's one detail that always sticks to me, that him and Kato Kalin went to McDonald's for lunch 2 hours before, or dinner.
Hamburgers, yeah.
His life was actually kind of sad, and that the kids were upstairs asleep at 8:00. Oh, terrible.
Yeah. So that's the conflicted feelings and the things that come rushing back. For us, when you hear the story yesterday that O.J. Simpson has passed away, we're curious, what part of O.J.'s story do you find yourself going back to now hearing about his passing? Okay, lots more to do, including, on a lighter note, E.J. being king for a day. Now, he got more games right in the NCAA tournament than anyone on the show in our Pearl Jam Season 3, hosted by our pal Nick in Texas. We've all gotten our punishments, except for Pete Bellotti.
Yes.
Who will be paying off his punishment in just moments. And EJ, have you come up with something for Kaplan? Just a quick yes or no. You don't have to reveal it yet.
No, but we'll have it soon.
Okay. Do a little meeting in the break. Pete, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll do this after the break, right?
Hold tight. Pete Bellotti pays off a punishment next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Ton going on today. We're talking about the passing of O.J. Simpson and everything that we remember from the 90s and beyond. Kentucky is hiring a new coach reportedly. We got Tiger Woods gutting through the Masters. Real quick, let's get in a little NFL draft talk because we're so close. I could taste it right now, Maggie. Earlier this week, Adam Schefter came on his podcast and in so many words said that the Commanders are strongly leaning towards taking Jaden Daniels at number 2. So I think that's the Vegas favorite now. He moved to a heavy favorite, which means that the Patriots are going to be sitting at number 3. Schefter also said, I do not think that the Patriots are going to trade out of that spot.
I don't think they should.
You've been saying for a month and a half.
Yeah, I feel like we've all been doing this so long that when teams need quarterbacks and they're picking that high in the draft, they will tell themselves the lie that all teams tell themselves, which is we'll take the guy now and then because we're never going to be this high again because all of a sudden we're going to turn things around. And the Patriots are definitely telling themselves that lie. Now, here's the thing. Yeah. They might end up getting a really good quarterback in Drake May.
Here is the other thing. So after Schefter said that, the New England reporters just went bananas. It seems like everyone's saying there's a huge battle in New England between people who want J.J. McCarthy and people who want Drake May. So now that seems like probably, although so much changes and we're never right about this stuff, that seems like the pivot point of the entire draft. Who goes there? Is it Drake May or is it J.J. McCarthy? And if Drake May does not go there, does that mean, the Giants want Drake May? You know that former Joe Shane, who was at the Bills and was part of the Josh Allen, he wants Drake May. So there could be huge ramifications. To me right now, the draft basically starts at number 3 with that decision.
I agree with you. Yeah. I just think I think that J.J. McCarthy is a smokescreen here. I
don't know. It just seems it is a good smokescreen though because it is persisting. You have to admit most smokescreens come and go. This one is sticking around.
Yeah, you're right about that. At first I thought J.J. could have the possibility of being the Will Levis of this draft where he has to sit around and wait. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. There's probably enough reporting there that he probably is going to go maybe top 10, definitely, maybe top 5.
It'd be shocking if he got past 6. By the way, they announced the players that were attending so far, and I do not believe J.J. McCarthy is on that list right now.
So the 13 players who are going to attend, I do not see a J.J. McCarthy. The only quarterbacks are Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels. That's it. So even Michael Penix and Bo Nix are not coming.
Yeah, which is a really good idea. We've been there. We've been in a few drafts. Remember the Geno Smith draft? Oh,
I was there for that.
Brutal.
Yep.
Nothing worse than being that guy. I don't think J.J. McCarthy's going to be that guy unless, again, I love you think everything's a smokescreen.
I do.
Because you think everyone's a liar generally. And this time of year, everyone in the NFL is a liar. But I think J.J. McCarthy goes pretty high. The odds, by the way, have changed, EJ, on our draft bet. 4.5 quarterbacks over under. I say more than 4.5 quarterbacks go.
Yep.
Say 4 3/4.
Yeah,
no, 5 quarterbacks go. EJ says 4. The odds are down to minus 210. I heard that it's over 4.5. Ooh. Yeah. So
EJ running wind sprints.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel, Maggie? Which way do you lean? Minus 210 feels pretty good, but I wish it was minus 500.
Well, I mean, of course you do. I keep going back and forth on this one. I'm glad I'm going to be standing with Bellotti also holding a clipboard and maybe a whistle, and I'm not participating in this draft.
No, you don't have to go to whistle. This is Bellotti.
Clipboard maybe. Whistle seems a little much.
Well, I mean,
I need coaches.
What if something happens to Pete? Right. Then who's going to execute this? I mean,
that's right.
It's just a backup plan. It's like when they have an extra referee just sort of hanging in the wings in case someone turns an ankle.
Maggie's the offensive play caller for Pete's football team.
Basically going to cut the brakes on Pete's car so I can be the one who gets to hold the whistle and torture the both of you.
But, I mean, I have a knee injury, so obviously I don't have to run these.
No.
We saw your hype video from rehab. So now you can't claim to have any kind of medical disability. I actually think it's gonna. I've been with Perloff on this one the whole time. I think it is gonna be over 4.5. I think that one of the X's sneaks in.
The X's, I know.
Penix or Knicks.
I love that we call them the X's. Yeah, I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm really nervous. If I didn't have this bet, I'd feel comfortable. But, listen, what a mock drafter has been, everyone has the same mock draft. Everyone has the same 10 guys in the top 10. It never works out that way. A lot can happen. Will Levis makes me nervous. I had Malik Willis going number 8 overall. He fell to the 3rd round. Listen, you can get sold a story on quarterbacks and it might not happen. Maggie, you're so cynical and on smoke screens.
Yep.
That I'm surprised. I would have thought that you would be like, oh, this is crap.
So I'm cynical because I think people are lying. I also think that front offices and owners are dumb, and I think they do things for silly reasons, and I think they talk themselves into things often. And I just think that there are owners that are wild cards that come in and say, have done almost no research, but come in and say, I want a quarterback, and they force their front offices to do that.
Does that really happen, though?
I think so. It definitely did with Dan Snyder.
And Dwayne
he's gone now. But
yeah, but I mean, listen, Dwayne Haskins was a ridiculously good quarterback.
You don't think David Tepper had anything to do with the Bryce Young pick over C.J. Stroud?
I think 27 teams would have taken Bryce Young number 1. Don't you think? I mean, you think that other people would have taken C.J.? I didn't hear anybody trying to get up to 1 for C.J. Stroud.
No, I'm just saying that I think that owners have put their 2 cents in.
I know what you're saying, but when you think about those 2 guys, Bryce Young and Dwayne Haskins, they were probably going pretty high anyway. I totally hear what you're saying. Now, I think the Giants at 6 is interesting because they have Daniel Jones. That's the pick where I say, the owners said, take this guy, take Mr. Prep from Duke, and now they're going to be sitting there with a Drake May at 6. Interesting.
Okay, EJ is king for a day. We've all had to pay off punishments here. Bogusch had to give an all WrestleMania-themed update. A little part of you died in that, I can tell.
Yeah.
And we actually
Great
learned a
weekend
lot.
coming up.
I got to tell you, that was one of the more exciting updates. I'm like semi into pro wrestling. I was like, whoa, tell me more.
I was like, John Cena's retiring?
No. There was like actually very interesting things in that. Maybe we work in a little more pro wrestling.
Nope.
Perloff had to sing.
That we don't need to work in anymore.
The theme song.
It's the Knicks, and we're back on pace. Everyone's gearing up for the championship race, and the fans are going crazy, and they're doing it for a reason. Because 94 is a Knickerbocker season.
For somebody who lives in like one of the birthplaces of rap, that was Perloff lives in Brooklyn. I think rap technically started in the Bronx, but we'll give it to you.
Bam,
that is
you
bad.
Dunks in your face.
You live like 5 minutes away from like a Notorious B.I.G. mural.
Yeah, I'm sorry, cool
he's
Maggie D here.
He's
I'm
rolling
sorry.
in his grave right now.
Okay. All right. Let's be careful about who we're saying can't rap. I'd like to hear you drop a few lines.
Listen, I got my punishment. I got my punishment. I've got to watch
New
it.
York Knicks.
Stupid.
See, that's how people rapped in the 80s.
No, it's not.
Yes, they did.
No one's ever rapped like that, McLovin.
Yes, they did.
Rap as a whole has asked for a cease and desist.
No. That was trust me. I was cool in the 80s and 90s.
Run DMC and Public Enemy want an apology for what they heard from you.
You're called Runaway DMC.
Wait, what's your middle name?
James, but
you're Runaway AJP.
That was a drop the mic. We might as well end the segment here and walk out.
Maybe that gets Bilotti out of his punishment.
No, we gotta do Bilotti's punishment.
Okay.
So I'm very proud of the king of the day that I've been. Now, first of all, we have Andrew Kaplan business to handle because we've been talking about what's going to happen to Kaplan. So Kaplan right now is in the midst of doing a Photoshop for those who watch CBS Sports on YouTube and on, of course, Twitch. He's doing a Photoshop of himself because he loves to Photoshop us all the time. Yeah. He's doing a Photoshop of himself as a Knicks fan. So if you're on YouTube or you're on Twitch, check that out soon. If it's not up already, Cap is making that Photoshop right now. I love this.
That's an easy punishment. He should have more.
I think Cap is a Celtics fan. No, this is the worst punishment for him. And I told him to do it. He said, "I'm not doing it." I said, "Oh, yes, you are." So he's working on that right now. So shout out to him. And now Mr. Bilotti, he has his punishment here. Would you want to tell the people what you're going to be doing here?
I got to say 5 great things about LeBron.
P does not love LeBron James, as you can hear in his voice. Yeah. And look, I'm an MJ guy myself, but I respect the game. And I'm a big fan of this podcast that he's launched with JJ that Pete hates.
Yeah.
So now Pete, who's been putting too much disrespect on the other king's name. I'm the king here today, but the LeBron, of course, is the king.
I'm just saying the truth.
Pete's going to say some nice things about LeBron, and we're going to put some music underneath because LeBron loves hip-hop. And, of course, he had this movie, More Than a Game, a documentary about his life and his high school teammates. The famous song, Drake, Forever, is going to be under this Pete top 5 things he loves about LeBron James.
All right, Pete, are you ready for this?
All right, let's get it over with. Here we go. 5 things I like about LeBron. He's a good father. He's not Kyrie. He was good in Space Jam. He's the second best player in the NBA, and he was my favorite player before the decision. There's 5 good things about LeBron James.
Wow.
That was wait.
I mean, you really ripped through those.
You got to do them slower. I couldn't even hear it. Enjoy them.
No, come on, Pete.
All right, one more time without the music.
There's no stipulations here. I do the 5, and that's it.
You turned 5 into one run-on sentence.
That's
I don't even
fine.
know what you were
That's
talking
fine.
about.
Go back to listen on the podcast.
I got them all. He's a good dad. He's the second best player of all time. He's not Kyrie.
Yeah.
He was good in Space Jam, and he was Pete's favorite player until the decision. So it's good to know that Pete doesn't hold a grudge.
Because that happened in 2010.
See?
You know the one that I would have the biggest issue. Was he good in Space Jam? I've never heard anyone say that.
He was good to me.
He's not Kyrie. I think a lot of us could agree on that one.
That was a good one. He's not Kyrie.
But at least he didn't make him say something nice about the JJ Redick podcast.
Well, he'd have to watch it in order to do that.
I am not listening to that disaster, and I'm not saying anything about that podcast.
Make him say the LeBron JJ Redick podcast is my favorite podcast, so we can drop
I'm not saying that. I paid my bet off. That's it.
I agree. Pete's paid the bet, paid in full, did it well, and there is no one who Pete has more disdain for than 2 millionaires drinking expensive wine and being real bougie about it on a podcast in a self-congratulatory way.
Just add some caviar to it. I mean, it's really disgusting.
EJ, you did a good job today, except now the punishment should have been to watch a full episode and do a report, much like Maggie's Marvel movie.
Yeah,
well, that's not happening. So.
Wait, what?
No, leave a 5-star review.
I'm a progressive king.
Yeah.
So I do have some decorum. I'm not going to be too overhanded with my punishment to everybody, but I feel like if you ever played Mario Party, it feels like you guys all landed on Bowser spaces, and I think I've really done a great job of laying down the hammer on everybody. So thank you to everybody who, of course, was in the Pearl Jam 3. And shout out to you guys for all losing to me.
By the way, that would have been cruel and unusual to make Pete sit and watch a whole episode of LeBron.
That might be longer than a Marvel movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
It would be punishment to read the caption for that show.
It's definitely going to be more insufferable, but I'm not looking forward to my punishment. It's got to take time out of my weekend. I've got other things I could be watching, like baking shows.
Pete, don't you want to know how the game really works? What you're watching, get an educated eye on the game of basketball?
Yeah, exactly what I need.
Yeah, it's the high pick and roll.
Trust me, Maggie. By the way, Captain America: Civil War. I would watch 100 times over.
You want to watch
before
it for
watching? We just watched it the other day. It's actually a great movie. I was looking at it. It has huge ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. Gets 5 stars from everybody.
I am dreading this. I can't get into them, guys. It's not like I haven't tried. I watched Avengers or whatever or not Avengers. What's the one where they're in space and it's
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Space Jam.
LeBron's great in it, we heard.
Guardians of the Galaxy. 5 minutes in, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever
seen. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No.
Chris, whatever his name is. I can't remember.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
that's the best 5 minutes of
Chris
any.
Pine. There's so many of these guys.
That actually is the best 5 minutes of any Marvel movie.
Yeah. How do you watch that and say this isn't hilarious?
Ugh.
Dave Bautista.
It's not my.
Zoe Saldana.
It's not my thing.
Perloff's guy Bradley Cooper voicing
Raccoon.
Rocket.
You guys know how I feel about Cooper. Fraud.
Oh, that's true. No wonder you didn't
Bradley
like
Cooper.
it. See, you're holding a bias now.
Maggie, who do you like? What do you like? You
apparently weed and trucks based on the last hour.
And sequels of
Paw
comedy
Patrol,
movies.
and you don't like Marvel.
Hate Paw Patrol. Not a fan of
Paw Patrol.
I told you I like the baking shows while I'm on the treadmill. Bogusch is here with headlines.
Go New York, go New York, go to Boston and beat up the Celtics.
Brunson gives a couple of jab steps on the right wing to Holiday. Minute and a half to go in the third. Give and go. Brunson, DiVincenzo. Brunson off the glass and in. Knicks by 29.
Pat O'Keefe on Knicks Radio.
Awesome.
Jalen Brunson.
We are New York. We are the New York Knicks.
With 39 points in the 118-109 final. That 29-point New York lead came after 3. With the win, the Knicks are now 1 game behind the Bucks for the 2 seed with 2 to play. Meanwhile, back-to-back double-digit losses for the Celtics, but Jason Tatum's still cool.
Played 82 games. We've had a bad 3 days, but overall, best record in the league. We 15 games ahead of second place. We're not perfect, but we can learn from these.
Elsewhere, the Warriors are now 9th in the West after a 192 win in Portland. And this was not the right time to become a Pistons fan. A franchise record 67th loss last night, 127-105 to the Bulls. Chicago clinches the 9 seed, by the way. They'll host the Hawks in the play-in next week.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The Bulls are in the playoffs?
Well, play-in.
But that's still the playoffs.
No, I think actually it's a regular season game, is it not?
Yeah, they don't count it as playoffs, but your indignation is fair. I mean, we get the point.
They're about to fire their coach.
No,
I don't think so.
No.
He gets to stick around now.
Right?
He might leave because they're under 500 in the play-in, but
ridiculous.
They're not going to fire him.
Come on.
No, it's amazing. The East is the exact reason why there shouldn't be a play-in, and the West validates the play-in 100%.
Well, what about this in-season tournament? What did that do to the playoffs? Nothing.
Remember that? How glorious that was?
Yeah,
so
People
fun.
are still talking about
Another
it.
great
Who
thing
won?
in the NBA.
Raise the banner.
It was great.
Oh, awful.
It's so funny to me. You're going to have the Bulls and the Hawks playing in one play, and the Warriors and the Lakers. You're having the number 1 and number 2 most popular teams in the NBA in one, and you're having not the number 1, number 2 teams.
They can play the Bulls Hawks on the Ocho.
No, it should be at 3 p.m.
Loser of the Bulls Hawks should advance.
They should play during our show. Can we get a little morning basketball?
I mean, anything would be better than a prime time tip off of that game. It should be the first game in like Spokane.
That should noon tip.
Yeah.
That should have been one of the punishments that EJ doled out. You got to watch that in full.
It should be the qualifier for the play-in.
I've been saying this all along. I find it's not being talked about enough that Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Steph Curry are all in the same play-in tournament. I mean, this is the 3 greatest players of our lifetime, and they're all in the play-in? Does anyone find this weird? No? Anyone? Hello?
No. Those guys are old, man.
Is it? Because are they really not a fan? I don't know.
Durant.
I saw Steph Curry killing everyone the other night. LeBron hasn't missed a shot when he plays, and KD's awesome again.
But it's the Durant part of it. I don't think anyone believes in the Suns.
Yeah, it's funny. No one's talking. That's the team they're talking about. Listen, they're probably the best team of those 3. I think that it's unfair. Can they mix up the conferences now? Throw Phoenix into the East. Give us a little excitement.
Probably another bracket to the playoffs.
I still feel like if you right now, the Miami Heat, I believe, are 6 games up on the Bulls. I feel like if you are not within 3 games of the 8th spot, the in-season tournament should be canceled.
Not in-season, the play-in.
Or play-in, whatever they call it. The play-in should be canceled. Because it's not like you're gonna generate ratings for Hawks and
They don't
Bulls.
deserve it.
And they don't deserve it. Right, and they don't deserve it.
Right. That's like in the NFL with expanded playoffs. You get losing teams into the playoffs.
Yeah, 7-9 wins the conference.
Like last year, the
division.
Bulls were terrible last year. And if Billy Donovan doesn't sub out Kobe White, the Heat probably don't make the playoffs. Like Billy Donovan made some gaffes in a game that the Bulls were up. And imagine if we don't have that Heat run. First of all, I'm probably a much happier Knicks fan. But even beyond that, the Heat obviously clearly should have been in the playoffs over the Bulls, who were not a good team last year. But that shows you how tenuous this is.
Well, it wouldn't be a day without an NBA podcast beef. Rapper and one-time Fordham basketball fan Fat Joe told a story on the Roommates show about a high school-age Kevin Durant scoring 82 in a game at famed Rucker Park here in NYC and then being chased out of said Rucker Park.
They checked it out, passed it to him, and 5 guys would go like this, and he was hitting them. Water. He scored like 80 points. I said, oh, wow. I was out there. They chased him into the truck. He had to go.
Fat Joe swears Durant was an actual physical danger. KD tweeting, quote, another podcast lie.
Well, remember, Katie used to love to go to those courts in the summertime and play, and he was like hailed as this hero. That's when Katie was like kind of cool and less in the mentions. But that's a crazy story.
I got to tell you, I have a friend who plays in that circuit, plays in Rucker Park, and there's another big one uptown. Dykeman, yeah. He said you don't hang around at Rucker Park. So I'm not saying that I believe. He said like you play and leave, where Dykeman is a great scene. Everybody hangs out. I think it's like 180th Street or something.
Yeah, it's way up there.
Yeah, and he also said Rucker Park has fallen off tremendously for some reason.
But this was like before Texas. This was a long time ago. And like the idea still was that they were going to beat him up because he scored 82 and he was like 17.
He did have that record when he was in the NBA. I thought that was a story. I don't know if I'm wrong. I thought that was when he came there, and this was during the lockout, I thought.
No, I thought there were two different games.
Okay.
But I could be wrong, but I read it as two different games. That the Fat Joe story is when Durant was just a kid. And I mean, it was still Kevin Durant. People knew who he was.
Right.
And then to just show how much Durant loved Rucker Park, the write-up I read mentions the game during the lockout in that Entertainers League. Yep. And he scored 66 in the game, but I read it as a separate game.
This is very funny from our chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio for now, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio for now. Daly says, I'm sure they keep super accurate stats at Rucker Park.
Yeah.
This is a little like Wilt's 100 in Hershey, You
don't believe Joe, the Destroyer Hammond didn't jump on the top of the backboard to knock the nickel off? You don't believe that story?
No, this is like when they have stats from the 1890s for baseball. It's like, and he threw consecutive, scoreless innings. I'm like, you guys are trying to avoid getting dysentery. How do you know?
My dad's from Harlem, and he lived very close to Rucker Park and some of the other parks where they would have the EBC. And some of the stories I hear, they sound like urban legends. And I take them at my word because he's my dad, and I love basketball. But like him saying, I watched Dominique Wilkins have a dunk contest right outside my building. I'm just like, how is that real? But it's the 80s, so anything's possible in the 80s. Like imagine Dominique Wilkins is having a dunk contest with some local legend right outside your building. You're watching from your window. These are the stories that happen at places like Rucker Park and Dykeman.
I just love it. Anything could have happened
There's
in the
video.
80s. Like, this is the same as the 1910s. It's like, how did we ever survive?
There's like grainy footage of Dr. J at Rucker Park. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm totally. By the way, if you want to get a three-way call with you, me, and your dad to talk about these Rucker stories, even if they're made up, they're so cool.
Oh, well, it won't be me talking. You guys will just be at it for 5 hours. I think I'll just be listening.
EJ got to go to your parents' house.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you do a little home and home. You drive out to the Lehigh Valley and go hang with EJ's parents.
I'd love to.
They were both of your parents, right? Were in our March Madness bracket.
And your brother was leading for a long time.
Yeah, my brother, I thought he might win, and then he had Purdue foolishly in the championship game, and that knocked him out. Otherwise, I think he would have won, which would have been terrible.
He would have been king.
By the way, I tried to get my parents, and they could not figure out how to sign up for about the 50th straight time that we've done a contest, and my parents could not sign up for it. Sorry, Tom and Carol, it's true.
Now that Perloff has seen Tiger Woods, he will not be surprised to hear Tiger was 2 over in his final 5 holes this morning, finishing round 1 at the Masters. So he is 1 over for the tournament. He's back on the course for round 2 at 10:18 Eastern. The lead is still being held by Bryson DeChambeau, a 7-65 for him yesterday. There are some golfers on the course for round 2 already, with round 1 still being finished. That group playing their round 2 today includes
Phil Mickelson,
who began his tourney with a 1 over 73 yesterday. His tee time is 12:48 Eastern today. And who cares about the Islanders when we've got college hockey?
LeChance into the skates at the line of his intended target, Kaplan. And now Denver counters a 3-on-2 for the Pioneers here in overtime. Atop the near circle, a shot hit off the post. Did they score? Yes, it's over! It came right back out! Denver in overtime!
The Denver Pioneers, a 2-1 win in OT over Boston University in the Frozen Four in St. Paul, Minnesota yesterday. The game winner called by Brian Tripp on Westwood 1. It was scored by Tristan Brose, the most hockey name I can think of. Top-seeded Boston College took the other semifinal 4-zip over Michigan. The national title game is tomorrow.
I saw you tweet it out. This is my favorite day in sports.
Love
you got the Masters, baseball, and you go, and the Frozen Four. I'm like, oh, you're that Frozen Four guy. You're one of those guys. I think most of America does not follow the Frozen Four.
That's fine. I don't need them to follow this. Yesterday is a great day in the calendar.
It's the best sports name we have.
Frozen Four is pretty cool.
Great name.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, you don't have to watch it. I don't want you to watch it, but I was watching it at 5:30 yesterday. That's all I need.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he knew his Rangers were going to lose, so that was the key.
You guys hear something?
Collapse is underway, just in time for the playoffs. Annual tradition.
Because the Islanders are just raking up cups recently.
Look, they're on a roll right now. That's the bottom line.
And they're still 21 points worse than the Rangers.
But they're in the playoffs, right?
So are the Rangers.
Right, okay.
Andrew Bogusch, if I give you, it's October, Game 6 of the World Series, Week 9 in the NFL, college football, Red River rivalry, you're not taking that day over this day?
No, I like this. And it's warm. It's like the spring is coming. It's like new beginnings this time of year. Love it.
Wow.
Are you birthing a fawn?
Got deep. Yeah. Well, me and Maggie are watching.
It's mating season. Bogusch is happy.
Maggie and I are watching Tiger on the course right now. He looks like he's about to Ralph. He looks so tired and sick.
There's something wrong. He's like eating a sandwich and he looks really in bad shape.
Right? He looks like he's been partying all night long.
No, it looks like he almost died in a car accident like 4 days ago.
I think he's like been hooked up to multiple IVs or something.
Right.
He looks like peaked.
He's not limping. His body looks fine. He looks like, honestly, like he was. Looks hungover.
Looks like he's about to Ralph.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's hungover, but I'm just saying he looks like I've felt many nights before.
You had 2 takes today that have been like Encino, man. Like you just woke up. Like, what big trays does Daryl Morey make? And Tiger's definitely going to win the Masters.
I didn't say Tiger's definitely going to win the Masters.
He looks like crap.
Tiger's going to win it before we're all dead. He will come back.
He looks nuts in this video. I'm not watching it finally.
Yeah.
I'm just watching he looks. I've never seen someone so unhappy be playing golf.
Right? It's looking at somebody, just like talking to them, just like, what am I doing here? Poor guy.
I've never seen him more unhappy playing golf. It's such an accurate point.
He's just like chugging water and eating some kind of peanut butter sandwich.
Oh, look at him now. Oh, my God.
He looks terrible.
Yeah, his caddy's is rolling a gurney right next to him.
I'm sorry. You guys don't think that he should hang it up? We shouldn't even
I
be
agree.
watching this stuff.
I'm all with you.
No, he's clearly sick. He's got the flu. There's nothing wrong with his back or his ankle.
This is how he always looks because he's being held together by pins and rods and string and painkillers.
This is like when Happy Gilmore was hitting the balls into the trees.
And also, he's on 3 hours sleep.
Right. I mean, the only thing that hasn't happened to him is a gator biting off his arm. And you want him to win the Masters.
Still early.
And another horrible shot by Tiger Woods.
He's at +1. He'd make the cut right now. You guys are acting like he's at +19.
Oh, man.
He's +1. He's 8 shots off the lead. He ain't winning, which is your point. Making the cut and winning is a whole different thing.
I didn't say he's going to win this year.
All year. Because he's going to get better than he is now.
Perloff said before we're all dead.
Before we're all dead, Tiger will win this damn thing again.
I mean, what are we doing?
He's 48. In golf terms, that's like 39.
No, his body is like 80.
That's true.
He's
He's aging
100
dog
lifetimes.
years.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
He's losing to Max Homa.
Is that... Max Homa is great.
It's a funny name. 855-212-4CBS.
The person I was on the screen.
It was a good poll, Pete. Okay. We've got a lot more to do, including Tom Brady making some predictions. We do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Okay. So I'll do it like 3 ways: Odyssey, CBS, and just.
2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. All punishments paid in full. EJ was king for a day, so we all had to do pay our penance. Perloff, I think, was definitely the best. Can have a little.
Bam! You dunked in your face.
Your face.
We are the New York Knicks.
That's how I used to talk trash back in the day. In your face.
Bam! You dunked in your face. We are the New York Knicks.
I mean, I hate to say it. Those lyrics are so lame. It's hard for anyone to sound cool. I mean, even me.
Yeah, especially you. Okay. So we talked before about Tom Brady kind of leaving the door open for a late season return next year. If there was some kind of injury, he said he'd be open to coming back for a contending team. This is not like that beyond the pale to me. Like this is, he's clearly got the itch. He's clearly got the itis. And I thought he'd be broadcasting for Fox at this point, but of course he thinks he can still play. We're going to be going through this with Brady for a long time.
Well, just the fact that he got hired by Fox and then didn't even show the slightest interest in going into the booth last year, to me says that this whole broadcasting thing is a bit unorthodox or tenuous. Like, he doesn't even seem to care. I know he said he's putting a little hard work into it, but I don't know.
Now, Tom Brady, notorious liar when it comes to saying things on camera, right? He's already admitted that several times. He doesn't really like to tell the truth. So I was a little upset. And if I can hear cut 4, please. I was a little upset because since Tom always said he would praise his opponents when he really thought they were bums, when he was asked about the next quarterback to win a title who doesn't have one yet, I was a little bummed out that he went here.
Next quarterback to win a Super Bowl that hasn't won yet.
I like Josh Allen a lot. I think he's, I'd pick Josh.
Josh?
Yeah. I like Josh a lot as a guy, as a leader. But, you know, he's got to get past the Chiefs, and that's hard because Patrick's incredible in the way he leads that team.
I don't love this. Remember when Tom Brady said he would purposefully praise like a scrub corner because he wanted to throw some misdirection at people? I think he went to Josh Allen and he actually doesn't.
I think he was desperately trying to. I think you'd almost hear him going through the Rolodex of quarterbacks and saying, "Who? Josh Allen." By the way, he might be the only answer. Who's the other?
Lamar.
Oh, Lamar. or Justin Herbert. I think he just started with the AFC East and was going in chronological order through the league, and he thought of Josh Allen. I don't think that meant anything. That was just like, let me think. Oh, yeah. Then he goes, yeah, it's Josh Allen. But then again, there's Patrick Mahomes. I would worry about if that's the kind of analysis we're going to get on Fox, maybe he should go play again.
Meanwhile, Tiger now warming up in between his rounds. He finished his first round, had to do 5 extra holes this morning, and is 1 over. So now he's trying to stay loose, hit some golf balls. It does not look great.
The only thing I care about this whole weekend, will Scottie Scheffler's wife deliver? I want to see that conflict happen in real time.
Perloff's like hiding in the delivery room.
Scheffler's clearly winning this thing. So there's only one thing that can get in the way.
Thank you, E.J. Stewart, king for a day. Thank you to Pete Bellotti. Thank you to Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan. Great Photoshop skills. Bye.
We are the New York Knicks. You're in a 5-minute break.